God's Son is said by the ancients to begin his ministry at 30 and dies at 33. According to Plato, the highest form of magic consisted in the divine worship of the gods, plural, and according to Iamblichus, the priests, through sacerdotal theurgy, were able to ascend from a material state of unconsciousness to a realization of the universal essence, thus coming to an understanding of universal purpose by which the performance of high feats of magic became possible. Listen to this carefully, folks. This is their own words. The underworld is not the sphere of the dead alone. It is the world of the mysteries. Wisdom is not easily cheated. And if you don't wake up, I would rather be dead than live in slavery in the New World Order. And the blood will run in the New World Order. Superstition and fear, what they call the destroyers of all good things. Hiram of Biff was really, folks, Jacques Millet of the Knights Templar. How about that? I could go on and on and on and on. I will go on and on and on and on until you either wake up or I am dead, one or the other. Sheep were born to be fleeced and have the wool pulled over their eyes and are eventually always led to the slaughter. Should I go on? I will. How do you feel, sheeple? Why do you do these things? Because somebody tells you to.
I'll make sure I'm unmuted. Welcome, everybody. I had a lot of Freemasonic undertones that clip there, right? But of course, it was made by Paranoid American when he had hair. Welcome, everybody. This was an emergency stream. For those wondering about the title, number 7. Well, this is a series that I do on Patreon exclusive to supporters. For those interested in catching the other episodes, which are still fire, make sure to check out the Patreon. And hello, everybody. Just getting people in the chat here. And I have no idea what's going to go down today, but I know it's going to be fire because everything that we put out is fire. Make sure I'm nice and cleaned up. I got a good crew. I have the Alchemical All-Stars for everybody tonight. And it's kind of late. It's 10 p.m. What day is it today? It is Wednesday, April 26th, 10:05 p.m. Eastern. But welcome. I'm ready. My body is ready. Make sure to relax your anus as you had that music that was preparing you for what's about to go down. And real quick before we get started, check out the Kickstarter for the Chosen One Issue 2. I'm going to plug the link there. Sign up for that. We have 22 people signed up. Once we get to 100 people, we'll launch it. So enough of that. Make sure to follow me on social media at the One on One Podcast, tjojp.com. And let's get to it. We have a couple people here right now, and then we got somebody who's going to be tardy later on. But we have everyone's favorite American, the Paranoid American.
Yo. Hey, and I made that music last year, so that wasn't when I had hair.
Okay, I'm fake
That was
news.
just a year ago.
And he didn't have hair, so that's fine. And then we have the slickest of dissidents, and the reason that we're here, Slick Dissident. What's up, bro? I like your shades.
How dare you?
The people are ready. Anuses are relaxed. And okay, listen, guys, we have to put the respect on these topics, the respect that they deserve.
Put some respect on that.
All right, put some respect on that. And so, yeah, we're going to be talking about something that I guess came forth from previous episodes. And what people have to understand is that when we're talking here, these topics, it's not just a one and done. We talk about homunculus and don't ever bring it up again. No. These topics that we talk about are meant to, and I encourage everybody. I mean, even the chat will come up with stuff that is crazy after the fact, commenting, et cetera, et cetera. And those comments will fuel future episodes and like things how we're doing together right now. And usually my best work, believe it or not, is when we come together impromptu, spontaneous. Today we kind of prepared, but I guess Gabe got inspired by an episode that we had done about, I think it was the Rudolph episode, right? The one that we did on Rudolph, the second with Professor Longo and homie Romie.
That's
but
one
we're
with
here
red
again.
nose, right?
No, wrong Rudolph, but I mean, who knows if it's the same one or
You
not.
would have had rosacea. You don't know.
Maybe. So, Gabe, welcome. Paranoid American, welcome. And we're going to be waiting on somebody else, but they'll be here when they get here.
I want to say too, man, what we do here is like jazz. It's like a jazz group that gets together. They might be playing the same song, but you know, if you go and see a really good jazz group 5 different times, even if they play the exact same set, you just got 5 completely different experiences because everyone's in a different mood. And this might be over you. Well, I don't know if you ever listened to Frank Zappa, but Zappa was also known as one of those artists that if you went and saw him live, you'd never see the same thing twice just because they never played the same thing twice.
Well, I got a review today saying that my show was too repetitive, apparently, for some people. But I mean, I don't let the reviews get to me because you're not going to.
What did they say?
They said that my show is too repetitive, that I bring up the fact that I was a Pentecostal too many times. So
what did they say?
That I was a Pentecostal, that I talk about it too much. So again,
what did they say?
That I'm a Pentecostal and that I bring up the fact that I was raised Pentecostal
I won't
too much,
keep pushing it. We could run that one for a while, but we could stop.
So yeah, I think that my show I think it's the dopest show that there is, right? Because we're dope. And I cover a lot of topics, more topics than most, right? And in the Juan on Juan style. So whatever. I mean, people are going to, whatever floats your boat. You're not going to make everybody happy. But I did see that today. I am reading the reviews, and I'll call you a bitch on my Instagram if you want to see. When you leave me like a 1-star review, I'll call you out and I'll call you a bitch because I get the last say, right? So Slick, what do you got for us today, bro? I think you broke some cipher, you broke some code, you did something, and you were freaking out. I was freaking out. Romie was freaking out. Paranoid American, he's Paranoid American. What are we looking at, bro? Because I gave it the Voynich Mælstrom, the Spinozian Cipher, and Occulted Gods.
Yeah,
what
bro.
does that even mean?
So I started digging in on that Voynich Manuscript, and boy, oh boy, there is so much going on. These fools love their codes. They love their codes. And so much of what I found to be revealing and precious, worth bringing light to, is just the provenance of the Voynich Manuscript in itself. Not as much the contents of it, which seems to be like this impenetrable code with a lot of fascinating mythos around it. But what is really fascinating is just whose hands it has been in, and in fact, the story of all of the characters who have held that book throughout time. And so the book acts like almost like a laser pointer, and I'm the mouse following the book around and realizing like, oh, I should look into this cat. I should look into that cat. And sure enough, I start seeing all these patterns popping up around who's handed that book off throughout time. And quite a few really fascinating reveals have come to the surface. And I got a theory on one of the missing people. There's a missing link in the chain. And, the little documentary that I watched, they just put up like a silhouette of a person and gave us their first name is like, I think it's like Baruchus, Barcius, Burschhius, Barcius. That's it. And that hit a note for me. So I started checking the timeline. I started looking into it. I've actually been paying particular attention to Baruch Spinoza. And sure enough, his timeline matches up very interestingly with the lineage of the Voynich Manuscript and that missing persona. And in fact, it could even have been his father, Michael Spinoza, who was a exiled Jew during the Crusades in Spain. They had the what did they call them? The converso, where they made people convert to Catholicism. They forced them to, regardless of where their heart was, where their soul was. They had to pretend to be Catholic, go through the Catholic motions, and ultimately they had to get the hell out of Dodge. And they left Spain and went off to Amsterdam, where Spinoza grew up. But it's very fascinating that old Spinoza might have been, or at least his family, might have been in a position to put their hands on that Voynich manuscripts. And that is a very fascinating fit, as Spinoza's theology, his metaphysics that he embraced are incredibly prolific, highly influential. And maybe we'll get around to it in a little bit. We'll find out about Spinoza's God.
Would you say that piece of information hit your G-spot, Slick?
Bro, I was getting off, man. I was getting off. You heard me.
Yeah. And I think that whenever you send these recordings on Telegram, I think it's like a measure of where we're at as far as the information and the breakthrough. You can really gauge where the excitement is. And Spinoza, all right, let's start. I want to start with the Voynich Manuscript because it's an interesting book. Now, I'm going to pull it up here in a second. I have like high res picture scans of it. Now, there are various interpretations of what it could possibly be. I know about it because of obviously Edward Kelly and the John Dee connection and Rudolph II connection. Now, is it the question that I see arise a lot? Is it a magical text, like legitimately a cryptic magical text for some rituals or whatever it may be to conjure spirits, etc.? Why are you laughing, Thomas?
Well, let's just start with stating the facts, because so the Voynich manuscript is alleged to be from like the 15th century or something, right?
Voynich.
It didn't come out Voynich. It didn't come out into the public view until like 1912. And who has? I mean, I know you guys mentioned the guy that actually owns it, but it was accessible through Yale, the same place where Skull and Bones and the CIA.
You're setting off. Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, they're watching, Thomas.
No, I actually just felt a little jolt of electricity run down my spine. So my bad, guys.
No, but you're right. You're right. So what happens at these places? Okay, you have to understand that there are at very powerful places these talismanic things, these talismanic materials, I guess you could call it. I don't know what you would refer to as stuff. And Yale, right? Skull and Bones. We have the skull and bones of Geronimo. So that is a good connection. Now, my whole thing is it because I know about it because Edward Kelly allegedly used it, and this is what blew my mind. And this is by Elias Ashmole, the one that from the Ashmolean Museum. He's the one that published about this. That Edward Kelly allegedly used it to conjure a spirit up in order to help him find that red powder of projection. And that's how Edward Kelly was one of the select few alchemists that was able to do a transmutation in person in front of other people. Now, if that was an actual transmutation or not, we don't know. And now we got Peter Shell in the chat, obviously showing some love. Thanks, Peter, bro. You're too kind. Thanks so much, brother. And so we have this connection of it being used to conjure up some sort of otherworldly entity. And once you start involving otherworldly entities, or perhaps homunculus, because another form of homunculus is like an astral guardian, like an astral type of entity that is a watcher. So the watcher in this other realm could be a homunculus as well, like a servant. And he used allegedly this book, the Book of Dunstan, as he called it, to conjure up this little homunculus that went around and showed him where this powder was, right? So that's how I know about it. And again, it might have some credence to it, because we know that these elites, when they collect things, they don't collect them just because, right? They're not going to have them just because. And so is it a magical text written in code, or is it some other type of code that's written in a magical sort of way to a whole different meaning, right? So you have this double-edged sword from me doing my research of, is it an actual magical a grimoire, or is it occulting something else behind it being a grimoire? You get what I'm getting at? You understand what I'm trying to say? It's like, is it BS or not? And I mean, when you trace
is there even an agreed upon sort of consensus, even in any, is there even like a 1% consensus, or is just everyone that takes a look at it interprets it differently?
We have the only agreement that everyone has come to is that it's unsolved. Like, that's the only thing. Now, and think about this. We're talking about this in 2023. And this could have possibly been, bro, to be 100%, could have possibly been just some guy putting his boogers under a microscope and drawing what he saw. And here we are, like the greatest cryptographers have looked at this work to try and decipher what it was or what it is. And here we are trying to decipher it as well. And it could have been just some dude, right, who was just, you know what I'm saying? Like some alchemist, like, I wonder what this looks like under a microscope.
I wonder, could this be like an Aristocrats joke, but like the alchemical version, where it's just like this long joke that just keeps getting passed generation to generation, and they just like, oh yeah, I've had the Voynich Manuscript too, and everyone just kind of claims to have had it in their library at some point, just as like an elaborate prank.
Voynich, yeah. So Rudolph allegedly had it because he was a collector of all things. Okay, he was a collector of everything, and he was on a Trithemius kick, which is the Mac Daddy of cryptography. Okay, so these guys during this era, and that's what I love about the Renaissance, and I love about the alchemical revival and all these different things that were going on during that time, they set the pace for where we're at today. Rudolph helped kick off the scientific revolution as we know it today, for those that believe in science. And then we have the Spinozian connection there, who was inspired and also inspired some very, very influential people, which we can get into here in a little bit. And we have our next homunculus, our resident homunculus. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We have 115 people. I'm trying to break the 200 mark tonight. So welcome everybody.
Can we get another shout out for that Chosen One issue 2 sign up?
Absolutely.
Let's see where we're at. How many people are actually stepping up and doing this? We're at 22.
22. Right? I'm holding this stream hostage until
no one's gonna talk until we get 23 or whatever the next number is.
I'm muting everybody until we get another. All right, there it is right there. Make sure to show some love. And we have our.
It doesn't cost anything. You could just sign up and say notify me. And what happens if you get 100? Then Kickstarter gets notice of it, and then they might add it to like their little editor selected screen or whatever the stupid gatekeeping stuff is. But this is how you hack the algorithm. So everyone hack. You're gonna turn into a hacker tonight. It's the Matrix.
Smash that like button, and I'm gonna bring in our next homunculus here because I'm excited for this one. This one's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be good, guys. Here it is. Here is everyone's Romie, what's up?
Hello, bang bang, bitty bitty bang bang. Got an extra special guest here, also.
Hey, another homunculus. Welcome.
What, can a
Popping out of the
homunculus
woodworks.
have its own homunculus? Is that legal?
Apparently so. It's a paradox, but hey,
It's
they both
I mean,
exist.
you can't stop the homunculus once it's on its own track.
Wow, man.
It's out for the ruckus.
That's
so.
scary, bro. What happens if you like walk in and you catch your homunculus like burying its sperm and its poop out in the moonlight? You'd be like, yo, what are you trying to do, bro?
It's too late.
It's become sentient. It's become sentient. So welcome, Romie. Of course, you're late as always. Stoner time. It's all good. I understand. But we're here, and Thomas is queer. So back to the topic at hand. Romie and I finished doing that deep dive, that 3-hour episode with Professor Longo on Rudolph, and we did touch a little bit on the Voynich Manuscript. What is it? Voynichanese or something like that? What do they call the language in it? Voynichanese or something? Anyways.
Voynichese. Yeah, Voynichese.
Voynich. All right.
It
So
I like the way that
French.
Gabe pronounced it in the very beginning, like Voynich, almost gave me like Enochian type of vibes, right? Which kind of connects to a lot of the mythos of.
Yeah,
my nipples can only get so erect. All right, so just settle down for a second.
Yeah,
Let's just
man,
start talking about Enochian and all. We can get into all that, bro.
We should.
Is this
You're
really
with
the
Papa.
world's most mysterious book? Is there not one that's steeped
There's
in
a
even
few
more
others.
mystery?
I have a few others that I'm gonna bring up too that are
Yeah.
as mysterious, as enigmatic. But this is the Mac Daddy. Like this is the one that people want to break. And it's like I covered the Cipher, which was a Freemasonic sect of optometrists, of eye doctors. It's all right, bro. Just go ahead, peace out.
Right.
It was a sect of optometrists that that Copio Cipher, it's still not 100% translated, but it was broken 250 years, right? The sleight of hand was their code. And the sleight of hand was who could write the best cryptic code. And it was only broken through the use of an AI algorithm that they were able to decipher some of it, not 100% of it, because I got stuff moving around in my room. Only there's names and things that aren't translated 100%. So again, when it comes to show you to what lengths these secret societies will go to in order to occult their gods, for one, and their rites and their rituals that they do. So it was an initiate. The Copio Cipher was the instructions of the attire that you needed to wear and the initiation rites and the pseudo eye surgery that they would do on the initiates. They would cover his eye up and they would pluck an eyebrow to hey, bro, it was crazy. But
Yeah.
again, Copio Cipher was one of them. It was cracked 250 years after the fact. And yeah, the Voynich, bro, the Voynich goes hard. And we're gonna go hard tonight. We're gonna go
And
hard.
Were
right,
you
boys?
related to the Coptics at all?
The what?
Was it related to any sort of like ancient Coptic text or?
So I think his name was Baroque, I think it was, or whatever his name was. That one of the guys that had it, and I have it pulled up here somewhere. Where one of the things that stood out to me when I was researching this was that he called it that book of the Egyptian science. Now, Egyptian science is what? Alchemy. Where did alchemy originate?
The land of
In
Chem.
Egypt. Exactly. Right. The land of the black or whatever was the black soil, et cetera, et cetera.
Kamash.
So that's what stood out to me. Yeah. And again, I mean, we can get into it here. I'll pull up my stuff. I don't have anything ready, but yeah, take it
The
away, Gabe. I'm
Coptic
sorry.
Church has roots in ancient Egypt too, so that's kind of interesting.
Yes.
That
And the
that it has that
Gnostics. Yeah,
Coptic.
exactly. All that stuff. Mhm.
And I just wanted to mention that everyone's in for a treat because we have cracked the Voynich manuscripts, and we're going to be announcing the actual answer, but it's going to be on our Patreons only.
That's
Absolutely.
right. Yeah.
And you got to sign up for the one-on-one issue 2 Chosen One Kickstarter, and that's the
For
only way we're gonna release it.
$666, you can learn the secrets of the Voynich Manuscript and how to
seems
create your own
low,
Philosopher's
honestly.
Stone.
That seems pretty low, bro.
All right, dude. I mean, 3,000, 5,000, whatever. You name the price. I'll put it up right now on the tier, but you have to sign up for the Patreon. All
The
right,
one-on-one volume number 2 comic book is going to smash parallels. I'm very excited for this.
Yo, the one that you guys are doing, by the way, is beautiful. I saw the art. I saw the coloring.
The art, it's been so hard not to share any of that
Like-
stuff, but it's like you got to stagger it out. You can't blow the whole load at once.
Well, you're not
gotta-
even supposed to say anything, you guys. Come on.
my bad, bro. My bad.
DL, y'all.
Oh, look at this. This guy gets it, or gal. This person gets it. Right? You're gonna go there, Gabe. You're gonna go there. We're gonna go there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So
All right.
where are we at on this? Because I did jump in late. Where are we at in describing the journey of the Voynich? Are we still on George?
Just the tip
Barak's?
right now. Yeah,
Okay,
we're just on the tip. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you know what? One thing to bring up is that Aleister Crowley, he believed or claimed, we'll just say he claimed, to be a reincarnation of Edward Kelly. And in fact, that his name is a whisper of Edward Kelly.
Aleister Crowley, Edward
Mhm.
Kelly. Ooh.
Yeah.
And he also had the Liber Loga, which was another one of these texts that was channeled through Edward Kelly and John Dee when they were doing their seances. And it had some history before that, but the point of that text was to bring forth revelation, to bring forth the apocalypse, to bring forth Ragnarok. And of course,
Awesome
your
Gore
boy.
album, by the way. That's
yeah. So Crowley had a copy of it, and he also added to it. He also wrote stuff about John Dee, which I learned when I was researching for this. He wrote like a book, some Liber on his commentary on John Dee talking to angels or something or other. Which again, but I mean, he did say he was the reincarnation of Elvis Levi as well, and Edward Kelly. So I mean,
He's just familiar for all the ancient occultists. They're just popping through his sweet
Yeah.
vessel.
You know, for a long time, I was kind of under the impression that I fell for his gag, his running hoax, that he was Winston Churchill, and it was so.
I love
It
that
was.
one.
It's such a good one because, what happens is it's actually worth going through the motions to disprove it. You know, you look at their pictures and you're like, okay, Winston's always smiling and Crowley's always fucking looking frumpy and shitty. And you're like, they do look similar enough. And then you're like, wait a second, they were in the same Masonic lodge. Wait, they were in the same town. Wait, what's going on here? Crowley hands off this hand mudra over to Churchill. And they actually have so many parallels that it's very rewarding. It's like its own education system to disprove that claim that they're definitely not the same, but they were rubbing elbows. And that is valuable. That's worthwhile. That's worth knowing.
there were
Crowley
other
was
stuff
like a
too.
milestone, right? He was like a landmark that you would go and visit because he had amassed all this attention, and attention is power. So of course you wanted to go and see like what's this guy got. And I want to mention too that the Crowley and Churchill always reminds me of the Bill Hicks and Alex Jones thing, which is just, it's like they were alive during the same times. You've got the crazy one and the funny one, like they're this like a two-headed, Janus style god, right?
Can you move your camera up a little bit for the people, Thomas? They want to see the fan. They want to see the
They want to get
esoteric
hypnotized.
fan.
Yeah.
There you go. It's all right. It's all right. Daddy's got you. It's all right. You can let loose. All right. Where this is one-on-one after hours,
Do I need
right?
to actually raise the desk up and stand into the fan like
There
the
you
halo?
go, bro. That's what the people want to see. We're here to give the people what
Hey,
they
guys.
want.
The
All right.
Tweedledee hat.
There you go. There you go. You see right there. That's what the people want, bro. Oh, there you go.
Bam.
I'm glad you brought up the Bill Hicks thing. When you see that kind of paralleling, you kind of get the indication that somebody's in a club. That this is a hallmark maneuver. We all know about what do they call them? Humiliation rituals. We see
have the
these people go
cigar,
through-
the Winston, right? The Churchill cigar.
You
right?
got this cigar, this big fat phallic stogie. Yeah, man, totally.
Suck on that thing, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Speaking of, I like mine thin like this.
So, again, this this guy Crowley, right? He was in the connection. He said he was an Edward Kelly reincarnation, et cetera, et cetera. Where do we go? So we have the Voynich. It's very cryptic. What are your thoughts on it, Slick? I know you did a deeper dive than I did. Where do you stand with it? Is it BS? Is it not BS? Does it have any credibility? Is it some sort of grimoire, or is it something else?
So one very important fingerprint here is going to be Rudolph's name. Rudolph, I know you guys brought this up before, but that's, we all think of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. He's at the front of the sleigh. We got the nose thing with the Tycho Brahe, correlating to all the statues of Egyptology having their missing noses, the gnosis of the noses, and why they may or may not be in place. Now, Rudolph brings forward another really fascinating linguistical connection for me. And that is, back when we did the werewolf project, we discovered that Ulf is Norse for wolf. And so Adolf Hitler is the head wolf. He is the noble wolf. He's the King Poobah of all the wolves. He's wearing this wolf mantle like a crown. And so that was a very rewarding lesson that we picked up with that old project. And now we take it and we apply it here to Rudolph. Rudolph becomes the red wolf. And the red wolf definitely, absolutely points to two locations in the zodiac. It points to the Sirius, the dog star, which is a red star. It is the dog star. So a red dog, the red wolf. It's at the front of a chain of stars. That's Orion's belt. Those three stars point directly at Sirius, which is the marcation of a highly significant celestial event. Anybody who saw the old Zeitgeist knows about the alignment on December 22nd, 3rd, and 4th, or the 3 days where the sun stands still, exactly lined up with Orion's belt and that dog star. It's a very sacred alignment in the heavens. So Rudolph clearly is in the club. He knows about this sacred alignment. And those dog stars, the Canis Major and Minor, they are in Gemini, essentially.
Somebody said Sirius isn't red. They say you're fake news. Is that true?
Oh, that's PK. He's being nitty gritty. I already got the graphic made. Step right in my parade. No, they do say that it changed. No, that's true. They say that it shifts from red to blue. There's different camps on why, because of the distance, how far away it is.
Many Greek, Roman, and Babylonian sources, although still disputed, definitely assigned a red color to the star. So. Yeah,
and that was in the 1500s, so that might have shifted. It might be blue nowadays. I'm not, yeah. So the red wolf does indicate the Sirius. And PK, I love you, bro. You're my fucking doubting Thomas, man. So there is another wolf, and it is also red for another good reason. And that wolf is the Lupus constellation, which is all the way clear over in Libra. And that wolf, the Lupus constellation, would be red also for a very good reason, mythologically, because this is the time of year when everything turns red, where the leaves change their colors. The entire color spectrum of reality shifts from green to red. And that is under the sign of this grand wolf in the sky, is the Lupus constellation. And what is beautiful and sacred is that that's a 9-month cycle. When you go from Lupus all the way to the Gemini twins, to the other dogs of the zodiac, sure enough, you're looking at a birth cycle. So yeah, big up PK. I love you, bro.
Why'd you call Gemini the dogs of the zodiac? I'm interested.
Because of Canis Major and Canis Minor are considered minor deacons of the Gemini station of the sky. So there are 12 segments, 12 zodiac signs. Well, each zodiac sign has 3 smaller signs within it. And the 3 smaller signs inside of Gemini are Canis Major, Canis Minor, and the Lepus bunny rabbit. What you thinking, homie?
Sorry, dropped out.
You're not on your mic, bro. You're coming through your camera, I think.
Oh, can you hear me now?
There you go.
Anyways, the mother, which is interesting because, you know, Rudolph, Red Wolf, or I think etymologically also the name Rudolph itself in Old German was famous wolf, or like a head wolf, famous wolf. Lupa was the name of Romulus and Remus's mother, the wolf mother, the grand wolf of the founding of Rome and the Holy Roman Empire, being Rudolph. So he, knowing that he might actually come into that seat of power, naming him that was predestined, because a lot of the names that were running through the Habsburgian bloodline that knew that they would be within power of old German tribes, which was Roman tribes, right? Old German was old Roman tribes, same 5 letters, same whatever.
Man.
So that's really interesting. The Lupa is the name of the wolf mother.
Right. So let's run the mythology through the zodiac. If she's the mother, 9 months later, you're in twins. Romulus and Remus are born. The twins are born. So she is the source that the twin brothers are birthed out of 9 months apart.
Real quick, I'm getting very, and I mean, I know this is the Cinemagicians at work, but I'm getting very werewolves versus vampire vibes from all of this.
Yeah.
I mean, and real quick, because Rudolph grew up at El Escorial, which is a Pythagorean palace that is modeled after the Temple of Solomon. I'm curious, and that's where all the Spanish kings and hierarchy are buried too, by the way, on those grounds. I'm curious, did Adolf and I try to look it up, do you know if he ever made it to El Escorial, which is like this huge palace and somewhere in Spain, I believe? Because that, you know, again, I think that these elites use these sort of things in a talismanic way. But I'm just thinking outside the box, and I'm getting very much werewolves versus vampires. And I know we've done the Book of Werewolves episode, where we talked about their rituals and lycanthropy, and we're talking about dogs. And right now we have a very, very big dog man phenomenon, right, going on with the cryptid world in Tennessee and Manhattan Project and all these different things. Like, I'm just thinking outside the box, just planting that little seed there, you know?
Bro, I dig it, man. I mean, we got the German shepherds, you know, we got Saint Germain, Benjamin is bien hermano, is also a good brother. All of these seem to lend to that more of the werewolf camp, for sure. There is a big thread. I wasn't ready for that, Juan. I'm glad you seeded it though, because I do see often that there seems to be something going on between those who flash like gang signs, you know, a little affiliation to that Germanic brotherhood, and maybe something more of a blood-sucking, maybe, you know, louche vampires. That's a real thing, man. We know in psychology.
And not only that, but because I've experienced that. I've experienced a psychic vampire, but also real quick, we've had people in history like Joan of Arc's right-hand man, I think his name was Peter de Rice or something like that, who was literally drinking the blood of people, right? There are people who do this, and even in the Book of Werewolves. Yeah.
You're gonna tease me and get me into some area that's gonna get us all kicked out. So you better temper yourself.
Use code. All I'm saying, but we've talked about this.
Pizza sauce. There's a lot of people that have eaten a lot of pizza sauce in history.
A lot of pizza sauce that's related to something else that we all hear about, right? With certain presidents and things of that nature. Okay.
ADR Enoch.
Yeah, something like that.
ADR Enoch from Rome. Is that right, Rome?
Something like that. I'm just saying, right? I'm just saying, and we're close to 150 people. Okay, let's go. Let's
where we at? Let's check this freaking Kickstarter.
Let's check the chosen one. Let's see 22 followers. 25. Look at that. We got 3 people signed up.
All right.
Make sure to
Can
sign
we get
up
to
for the
33 by the end of the episode?
Can we get to 33 followers? There's 100 and where are we at? 142 people in the stream. Let's try and get to at least 33. Come on.
Yeah, you can definitely talk about pizza sauce in the comments. We just can't say the word on stream.
We can't say the word reasons. Because of stuff that
they just came up.
Romie's having some technical difficulties once we bring that up. But yeah, so we have this connection, and again, I wasn't ready to go here either. But when you're dropping all these things, because Slick, for the people, because I know that my show is a little heavier than most when it comes to this sort of, because we're de-occulting certain things. For those that are probably wondering what is happening in layman's terms, what is the possibility? What are they possibly using this for, in your opinion and in your words? Because I mean, we're here for you. So can you give the people like a layman's term of why they would do this? Like, are they using it to what?
Yeah, man. Well, for one, the blackmail industry is what runs the world. And if you can prove, let's just say, one of these ciphers back in the day that you deciphered it, and now you're going to announce it to everybody. Whatever the Hand of Light cipher was all about. And you're going to make it publicly known. You're going to be like, hey, look, we cracked the code. But, there's just a couple of names in here. We're still working on those names. Well, all of the brothers who those names connect to their families, they're going to run and scatter. They're going to start making moves, cutting ties, burying bodies, so that their secrets don't come to the surface. Because you just made it public that you cracked the code. And so now you're sitting on these secrets, and now you have leverage. And that's what it's all about. When mundane minded people talk about responsibility, take on responsibility to get ahead in life. Well, in law, that's called liability. You take on the liability. That's how they see it. And when you take on liability, then you take on more leverage, more weight behind what you do. And there's just an interesting little twist of how the mundane mind sees things and how people of the more legal realm see things. And so a lot of this blackmail industry leads to, what a lot of people, the mythology of the dark web. Well, the dark web is like 90% of reality, right? Or 90% of the data. And everybody else is just skimming the surface up there on the public side, the 10%. Well, that's actually how it works in the real world, even before the internet was a thing. 90% of what makes the world go round is blackmail, is these dark secret keepers. And if you can prove that you got the secret, then you get more weight. You get a bigger seat at the table. And another way to garner some pull is to flash that you have access to those secrets. So one of those things would be your name. If you put a little code in your name, it's like wearing a mantle that says, I'm sitting on a lot of secrets right here. And one example is this Spinoza. The name Spinoza, it hit a chord for me very recently when I was researching him. I learned that Espina means thorn. And philosophically, a lot of people say, oh, yeah, he was a thorn in the side of the establishment. He got excommunicated. In Sephardic community of Amsterdam, they excommunicated him. They call it a harim. Well, harim is incredibly similar to the Greek name for Pluto or Hades. His name was Charon, and he is the god of oblivion. And if you read about the details of harim, it basically is wishing you destruction every day of your life and everything you do. no productivity, no value for your life forever. It's the worst kind of curse.
TikTok. It's TikTok.
It's like TikTok. Nice. So this Spinoza is an exile of the highest order. In 2000, and this is interesting, that recently, 2015, they had a council come together and they said, should we maybe forgive Spinoza, bring him back into our good graces, and lift this excommunication curse off of his soul? And the council made an excellent case to say, no, man, he was not repentant whatsoever. And in fact, he would be pissed if we tried to take him out of Harim. He's totally happy being there. So he was utterly non-repentant. So that's just some interesting details about him, is that he is an exile, he's an outsider, he is unwanted, he is unclean for so many reasons. But I just want to put this forward. That word Spinoza, in Latin, it means a thorn. This means that Christ was not wearing a crown, not only wearing a crown of thorns, this means he was wearing the crown of Spain, España. He was wearing the crown of Spain. And now I know that there's a lot of Jerusalems out there. I know that the Kremlin, some people think there's a hidden Jerusalem in the Kremlin. Some people say Constantinople was a Jerusalem once upon a time. All of that has validity. But the one Spain that is least appreciated, Thunberg, you got it. The one that is least appreciated is in Barcelona. And I'm of the opinion that a lot of what gets construed and packaged as New Testament events are, in fact, taking place in Barcelona, Spain. And so Spinoza's name is like a mantle, that he is a secret keeper, one who knows, who has the gnosis. And another thing about Spinoza, and this was a joke back in the days. This is not me being racist or anything. This is how people used to talk back then, especially in Portugal.
He's going to drop it.
Especially in Portugal,
Are we in danger?
man. No, we'll be all right. I think we'll be all right. They used to talk about his nose, the shape of his nose. You know, people used to be real high profile about their genealogy by turning their head to the side to show the shape of their face. And showing the shape of your face is literally big upping your roots, being proud of where you're from. So you turn your face to the side so they can see your features, so they can realize what family you come from.
And we know
He's
who has
got that
big
Morgan nose.
We know which people are attributed with having big noses, right? I mean,
Italians, those freaking Italians, bro.
That, yeah, exactly.
And culturally speaking, only those with gnosis knows what they see when they see these cultural signs and symbols from the old ways. And so they literally used to say that he has the spy nose, right? Because it's shaped like a thorn. And he is a thorn in the side of the establishment. And there is something to be said about the rebel spirit being carried on and flaunted in plain sight, that only those who know what they're seeing can appreciate that Spinoza's name is holding.
Someone said it's a stretch, Gabe.
Yeah.
Well, you did. You should have done some more. You just should have done some more stretches. Get your splits on. So, Barcelona. If you look at the New Testament events and the story of the Christ being crucified, all of the geological attributes of the story are echoed in Barcelona, Spain.
Well, I want to point out too, just as a little bit of backup, where some of this might sound outlandish, but the concept of phrenology was seen as like a high science for a very long time, where you would just look at the structure of somebody's face, and from that alone, you'd be able to tell if they were going to be a criminal or a genius, or they should be royalty. And I mean, it's sort of a pseudoscience now that people laugh about, but every single person here has been at the grocery store and seen someone at checkout and been like, oh, that person's there, that's a bitch, or that dude's an asshole, just because of like the bone structure or the facial sort of gestures that they're making, and you don't know that person. So there's something like deep inside of everybody that makes you hone in on certain characteristics of the face, and that's that's that same kind of concept of like caricature art too, where someone, you know, you sit down and if you got a funny looking face already and you're like, draw me a caricature, you know, you're asking for someone to just make the biggest nose you've ever seen. If you've got a slightly big forehead, but it's like this thing that the humans latch onto, and they just kind of extrapolate that. So like that's another common technique of memory, right? If you want to remember everybody's name and face, someone walks into the room, if they've just got like the tiniest little mole, it's like, oh, that's Mole Guy, you know what I mean? And it's like, I know Mole Guy's Gabe, and now whenever I see Gabe, all I'm gonna see is a big mole floating around.
Mole.
But I mean, these are common techniques where you would just take like a tiny little facet of someone's, you know, their appearance and then turn that into them. So I think it's like a pseudoscience that you shouldn't do, but it gives a lot of credit to, you know, this being legit, that people would kind of show off their calling card as just doing the little, you know, the side pose.
I want to address this guy and this occultist looks guy. I'm gonna tell you something, bro. All right, because this guy, I see him in my yeah, listen here, dude. All right, so he brings up a good point. Doesn't the play on words only make sense in English? Now,
wait, wasn't English written by one of the greatest cipher writers of all time and brought in through like alchemical meaning?
Don't say that, Romie. Chill out for a second. One thing I learned about, right? So we're talking about Bacon and William Shakespeare, right? Shaking the spear, who quite literally transformed the English language as we know it, right? One thing that I learned while researching this topic was the fact that Kabbalah with a Q or whatever, right? The Crowley one, the capitalization matters. I know that. So again, when we're talking about not only wearing your name as a mantle or using certain words as talismans, essentially that's what it is, or amulets, whatever you want to refer to them as, the capitalization is very important because it changes the numerical value of those words, right? And again, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this as the English, because he brings up a good point.
Well, I got a really good version of this one, and that's we're still based on the Phoenician alphabet. So our words and our spells, even in English, date back to, you know, like the Punic times, Punic Wars and before of the Phoenicians. But even the letter H, right? Back in the day, the letters and the numbers used to be the same thing. Gematria used to make a lot more sense before it splintered into a million different directions. But the letter H used to be the number 8, and that's why they both sound the same. H and 8 sound almost identical. And there was an earlier version of the H, which would have been on its side, kind of looking like that infinity symbol. And if you look, what is the 8th character of the alphabet? It is H. So like this is one of many different examples of how, it's modern day English and a lot of the weird compound words that come from romantic languages and stuff. But even Roman itself, right? As much as they hated Carthage and Phoenicia, guess where their alphabet came from too? So I mean, if you want to trace it all the way back to where it makes sense, you'd have to look at kind of like the original Phoenician alphabet.
Right. And I want to touch in on that too, just because if you guys go to the Occultus Mundi, very first one,
fake news.
I wrote an entire article on that specifically, and it's a big passion of mine. And then there's only 2 articles that I got to go on because you know, I haven't been able to go much further in on that. But I want to go back to what we were talking about the phrenology and talking about the shape of people's faces and how much of an important role it played, specifically when we're talking about the character of Rudolph. You know, in the Habsburgs, right? You know a Habsburg when you see one.
Chin, baby.
Yeah, and the
that's
chin,
very good point.
The nose, right? And then what we brought up in that Rudolph episode was that you look back at ancient elongated skulls and how they were venerated people of societies of ancient times that would be able to perform magical qualities and had the ability to tap into the etherical realm and were likely the shamans of those groups. So the Habsburgs were, I feel like, because they believed they were part of an ancient lineage dating back to ancient Egypt, that they were almost, by doing so, keeping that bloodline intact and then making their bodies stretch to a certain way. Because if every body part, you know, in different Vedic astrology and traditional Chinese medicine associate with astrological similarities, then in fact you would be able to harness different pieces of archetype related to astrology through having elongated pieces of the body. And teeth and bones was directly correlated in Vedic astrology to Saturn, which is interesting.
Oof. Ooh. All right, you're bringing up something that I've covered with Narco Longo on my show, where depending on, right, the zodiac relates to certain parts of the body. Absolutely. And dude, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, using these things as a form of talisman, again, to either have influence over other people. And yeah, you have that Habsburg chin, crimson chin, baby. You know what I'm saying? Like they and the nose too, right? The nose was also very, very big. So
Yeah.
and who else's nose? Who else's chin was also big? H.P. Lovecraft, right? Yeah, H.P. Lovecraft.
HP looking a whole lot like Mr.
Mark
Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg.
Exactly. And now too much inbreeding leads to hemophilia. Hemophilia, where their blood doesn't clot very well. Hemophilia, still to this day, we haven't changed the word. It still means lover of blood.
Mm-hmm.
How much is too much? Because you said when you have too much incest. How is there? Can you quantify that exactly?
Man, it's a trip too, because some of them they don't hide it. And now, I'm pretty sure Freud got down with the cousin, and I'm pretty sure Einstein got down with. Now they're not necessarily royal, but they are practicing this strange pattern of transgressive mating.
This comment though is because you had Tycho Brahe, who was also in Rudolph's court, who was missing. He had his nose cut off, right? He was missing that nose, and yeah. So is the story, because one thing that I've learned from you, Slick, is that right, we have these archetypes and these reenactments that happen throughout history. Now, the angle that I wanted to go and approach this subject from was the chaos magic, Cthulhu, H.P. Lovecraft angle of it. Where are they consciously touching on this, or are they subconsciously touching on this? Now, if they're subconsciously touching on these archetypes and these stories and these things that bleed through art, through writing, through films, through whatever, through history, are they being influenced by otherworldly entities, or are those, and Crowley, are those entities us? Is that Goetia us? And coincidentally enough, I am doing a deep dive with Mario from Symbolic Studies on the 22 tunnels of Set, which touches on this concept. So again, that's where I wanted to go to the subject from, because again, anything interdimensional just really perks my nipples up. And yeah, what are your thoughts on that? Because this right here, Dave is touching on a good point. Is this something in order to introduce this to children and even to the masses, right?
Yes. So for one, giving it to children, children are the most freshly tilled soil. They're the most receptive to the seeding of these ideas. And even when they find out that Santa Claus isn't real, well, then they grow up and they find out, wait a second, but those stars line up in the story of the reindeer match with the story of the stars. So in a really fascinating way, it is fucking real. And then you find out about the placenta and you find out about the metaphor of the placenta and who's playing Santa in your consciousness. Who is this guardian spirit? Who's Big Brother? Who is the sack full of goodies that came down that chimney with you? And are you fully imbued with the estate of the lineage of your patriarchal line? And were you maybe guided to think that it was all bullshit and get jaded and have your feelings hurt and think that everything was a lie for the rest of your life? Or are you going to look through that and work through that shit and find out that there is such thing as somebody keeping a record of your life?
Dude, maybe Santa is Hiram Abiff, bro, and then you have to be the one that finds that sprig, but it's like a fir tree now.
I got a sack full of goodies.
Right? Now it's going to be a conifer. You got to go and find the conifer, and you find the little Santa caps. You eat the Santa cap, and then you realize, oh wow, Santa's alive again.
Right.
And then we have this argument that everything is a mushroom, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's where the conifers grow.
Yes, there are rituals that will reunite you with your holy guardian angel, and some of them are much more advanced and much more overt than others, and some are very, very subtle. You know, you might just walk across the stage, get a diploma, put the little thing on the other side of the hat, and you're good to go.
You know, just to touch on like the nose and the body and the spine and the pineal gland and the juices and the cerebral fluid and children's stories. One that's been coming back to the surface is Pinocchio. And Pinocchio quite literally etymologically means pine eye. Pine nut is the pine, and then occhio is Italian for eye. So it's quite literally the pine eye, which is pineal gland. And it's high praise, and so that's a alchemical story, no doubt, because of the homunculus, and you know.
Well, and look at where they go to Pleasure Island, where everyone gets turned into a mule, right, an ass, and this is a link to the story of Golden Ass. And if you read the story of Golden Ass, it's 100% alchemy. It talks about necromancy. It talks about the rules of how you need to guard the dead so that the magicians won't come in the night and steal parts of their body and use it in like all these magical rituals and stuff. So I mean, and that's just like one of the like 20 chapters that's in it. But man, the links between Pinocchio and not just alchemy but secret societies, it was huge with the Carbonari. They kind of related to that. A lot of the Italian sort of political revolutionaries, they did all of these nods because that same exact premise where kids would get kidnapped and sent off to work, that was happening in real life, and that was what a lot of those revolutionaries were trying to fight against. So, man, like the ties between Pinocchio and occult information and just encoded messages like we're talking about here, I think that's one of the greatest freaking examples. And it's made for kids.
Let's tie this back to the Voynich Manuscript because, you know, we were talking about the many Jerusalems that exist and the secret societies and so on and so forth, but the famous tunnels that connect a lot of these ancient landscapes. And what if, you know, in the Voynich Manuscript, are we going to pull up any of the images that are in this classic book? Because
I got you, Daddy. We have 174 people watching. We're almost to that 200 mark. Let's go ahead and push these numbers up.
Are we almost at 33?
We are. Oh man, I just shut. Oh,
are we at 33?
Yo.
What'd you
I
do?
had like 50 tabs open. I just closed.
Hold on. Hit Control Shift T, I think it is.
No, I don't trust you, bro.
Yeah, hit Control Shift T.
That'd be badass. That'd be badass. So you drop the P off the front of Pinocchio, you get Enoch.
I love you, Thomas.
Yeah,
I
dude.
open.
That's why I'm here, bro.
Sweet save, bro.
Yeah, did you know that I actually worked in fucking cryptology in the military? That's what I worked in for a couple years.
Illuminati confirmed.
Hold on, let's hit the sound button.
Homunculus confirmed. Homunculus confirmed. Eat a bag
Just
of
hit every
bits.
button.
Good
All of
God.
them.
That's
All
a
of them.
homunculus. Certified homunculus.
Dude, and those are AI too. Those are all AI generated. Sound great,
Wow.
right?
That was amazing, bro. That was so good. Like you know, you're not very good for anything, but when you're good, you're good for something, right?
And in the comment, Carbonari translated to the charcoal burners because they would go out into the woods at night and meet, you know, and they would burn charcoal to like light, you know, instead of burning like a full fire, they would keep it very subtle. So Carbonari, it's such a badass story.
All right, so I got the Steganographia from Trithemius. God, I can't say that. But yeah, I have the pictures of the Voynich in my email. Let me pull it up here.
So
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I want to put this on the because we're talking back on Barcelona. You know, these lost Jerusalems. Barcelona is a very crucial location. It is the birthplace of the UCC codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes. And so this is just good stuff for anybody who's dealing with naysayers. You know, a lot of people will say, oh, why do you think everything's a code? Why do you think gematria is even a thing? Well, your dollar bills, y'all, dollar bills, y'all, that you do UCC trade transactions with, they all have gematria on them, gematria, whichever.
Sigils.
They're packed with sigils, and every one of them has a little. I don't have one on me, but they all have a little. The first letter on the serial number is a gematological fit for the number that is encircled on the seal. So you can do this little trick where you fold the dollar bill to cover the first letter. Let's say it's a B. And you tell the person, okay, fold it so I can't see it. Don't let me see the dollar. Fold it to cover up the letter B. And now show it to me. And you look at it and you look at the circled number next to the serial code. It's going to be the number 2 in a circle. And you just go A, B. Oh, I'm guessing it's because it's number 2. It must be a B as the first of the serial code. Boom. Gematria is functionally used to verify the fundamental reality that makes up money theism. This is a money theistic world that we are living in. And so the roots of that trade transaction that is using a gematriological code for the fabric of what makes the fucking world go round, it all goes back to another code that is called the Uniform Commercial Code, the UCC. Now that uniform that you have to wear in order to sit at the table to do buy and trade goods, it is a mark of a beast. That mark of the beast is that you got to have the snipped unit. That is your uniform. As long as you're snipped, you are a Brithalona. You are the Brist lion. You are wearing the proper uniform so you can sit at the table and sup with the elitists of the realm. So there's a lot of codes that make the world go around. And only those who know. And that keeps the priest class in place.
Here we are. Right. Shout out to the boys at Yale University. Right. So here, let me pull up some of these pictures as we talk.
The name. So a quick weave on Yale was I can hardly say his name. Yale is the namesake of that location.
Right.
And his name is first used in Job 3:22. Job 3:22.
Interesting.
Is the first place where Elihu's name pops up in the Bible. Codes,
so
man.
We have some flowers and trees and whatnot. Now, allegedly, none of these have been identified as actual specimens. And speaking of inbreeding and genetics and all these other things, right? Bloodlines. One of the things that somebody brought up was the idea that perhaps these are different much earlier versions of plants that we have today, except we wouldn't recognize them because these are the first ones to ever pop up.
Yeah, like you wouldn't recognize the original banana or the watermelon or anything based on what we've got today versions of it.
Well, again, that's just a theory on what this could possibly be. Now, I did see on the We Keep Idea page, I think it was We Keep Idea or somewhere else, I'll pull it up, that they had charts for there are repetitions to the grammar in these
There's
letters.
What?
There's repetitions. They repeat, right?
There's what?
There's patterns. I was a Pentecostal Christian, and I grew up in a
There we
Pentecostal
go.
church.
What?
Yeah, I grew up Pentecostal Christian, and I just got to make sure you guys know that. Just grew up Pentecostal Christian. And so these drawings were, again, I think that maybe this was all a hoax, and we're just reading too much into it. But some of the greatest minds had this book. Some of the greatest minds have tried to decipher it. I don't know.
Well, I want to point out how fitting it is, again, that it's at Yale, the center of intelligence breeding in the entire, if you want to talk about inbreeding and secret intelligence, Yale would be that epicenter of this. So it would be fitting that this like unbreakable code would be at the center. And that's kind of what all these secret societies were too, right? Secret societies were just earlier versions of CIA. They were just intelligence societies, the ones that would gather that blackmail for you. That's all any of this really was.
And two, just to say, like, because Rudolph got his hands on it, and directly after that, some of the story is that it went to Rudolph's imperial distiller Jacobus Tepignex, one of like the main alchemists working in the magic circle of Rudolph, that they actually did have some insight on the cipher and its decoding, because they were definitely keeping it around the many alchemists that were working in Prague at this time. And so it's like, you know, what we know is like that this is a crazy language, it's alien, you know, it's Voynichian or whatever. But I personally am on the boat that there were a handful of people that at least had a lot larger of clues to the cipher or some sort of code, because it was toggled around the castles in Prague for quite some time, and maybe it was just them trying to decipher it. But you know, the importance of the different plants and alchemical processes that are described through here, just from like you looking at old manuscripts, reading alchemical text, this looks like, oh yeah, this is a piece of alchemical history. But it's so cipherically coded, and the fact that it like you know, was so the cover was replaced when it was in the Jesuit library after it was given to the Jesuit library. I can't remember who gave it to the Jesuit library. Let me check my text. H.P. Krauss was the man who had it last before it went to Yale. H.P. Krauss, but not before it went to the Jesuit library. But in 1873, when the Jesuit library had to get consolidated all over Europe because of religious power, they were going into these Jesuit libraries and taking any manuscripts that weren't their own personal Jesuit manuscripts. So this Voynich manuscript skipped that. It would have been taken by the church, but they replaced the cover, which is a main reason why it doesn't have the original cover, why they say that they can't actually truly date it. And so whoever wrote it in a cryptic form, right? Just like alchemical texts are cryptic in general, but they didn't write it in a way for it could be actually discovered. There wasn't any sort of ink that was used that gives any sort of geographical location as to where it was used. It was very basic minerals in the ink. And the cover was also replaced in 1873, likely due to the Jesuits not having it getting ripped away from their hands, because whoever is in the know knows where this book came from, knows that it holds some of the truest ancient texts, in my opinion. But that's some of the shit that I got on just its journey as it riddled its way and it found its way in the Yale fucking library. I mean, come on.
Well, I want to throw out here too, just for the context, because I really do vibe with the idea that these just might be extinct plants or hidden plants, because the Western world
plants.
Well, we only started keeping track of plants in the mid 1700s, like 1753 or so, like right before the founding of the Illuminati, essentially, is when Carl Linnaeus started making an entire index of that. And since that book came out, there's already, I think, like 600 plus plants that we can verify have gone extinct since they existed back then. And I think there's an estimate that somewhere between 3 and 5 different plant species entirely go extinct every year since 1900. So just imagine that all the plants that they knew about, at least 1,500 of them have gone extinct since then. And it's not just like accidentally, oops, that plant went extinct. A lot of them, like the sort of missionaries, would go around and they would purposefully exterminate entire plants. They would name it like devil's weed and then stomp it all out and salt the earth, because they would see that the natives would use these to talk to horrible, nasty gods that weren't their gods. So, I mean, this also could just be an index of all the plants. Like, okay, we just exterminated that one. Draw a picture of it before we kill the last one and write a little magical, inscription about what it did.
Man, that is such a good point. That is such a good point. One of the dialogues between somebody who was handling the book, I think it was one of the Jesuit that was handling the book.
You can handle my book, Gabe.
He actually phrased it as, this is some of the most cutting edge and most important, pertinent remedies for humanity just outside of redemption in the eyes of the Lord. And so from one Jesuit to another, that reads as, this is the next competition in the realm. That these plants and the what is hidden in this book is the next competitor to the redemption that we offer through the institution that is the church.
Real
That is
quick, Gabe.
Yeah, buddy.
Because the next book that me and Thomas are covering for the Occult Book Club gets into this, now that I think of it. The mineral world, the plant world, the animal world. And I didn't think of that until it just clicked. But yeah, like these parallel worlds, I mean, I don't know what that means, but I just thought it was a cool connection because I'm looking at all these. It's really hard to see what these.
It's so connected. Don't doubt yourself, brother. You're on it. It's
man.
a part of alchemy. It's a part of the Philosopher's Stone. The plants, the roots, the leaves, the seed, the stem, the water within, the water without, the water outside, the things flowing, the things literally bring. So the Druids held very highly the inner sacred waters of the pure water that lives within the vessel, the alchemical vessel that is earth. And so when you look at the Voynich Manuscript, it shows the roots of each plant, which is very significant and symbolically ties to drawing the waters from within to without. And so that's an alchemical process that the plants take, and then the alchemists can later thus use. And when you take plants, and the other part of the Voynich Manuscript is astrological signs and charts. And we know that through Solomonic magic and divination, that the time of the year and the time of the day, the time of the hour, everything is astrologically, archetypically lined up. And that goes the same with when you're using plants and plant magic and part of alchemy. So don't ever disregard that, brother. You are on the tip, baby, on that motherfucker.
I just didn't know how to weave it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know it's there, but I just didn't know how to weave it.
And what could be wild here is if you had a deep understanding of botany and all these different types of plants, you could almost take the leaves of one plant and then mix it with the roots of another plant and the flower of another plant. And that could almost be like the key to the cipher. Maybe like each page, you'd have to know and take the words that would form those different plants and use those, because that's usually what these ciphers are, is that the key rotates constantly. So maybe even between letters or between words. So that's what makes a lot of these so incredibly hard to decipher, because if you don't know the pattern in which the keys change and what those keys are, but maybe these plants, and because I stand with you, man, Romie, that the fact that all of these roots are drawn with such detail, in some cases the roots have more focus, like that one on the left right there, right? There's more effort put onto the roots than there are to the the plants and the flowers that come out of it.
So it's not just plants, right? We get into other stuff as well. So we're talking about the plant world, the mineral world, which also Edward Leedskalnin, he wrote a pamphlet, which I have somewhere here, and he wrote about plants and minerals, like this that is an occultus mundi, if you really think about it, a hidden world, like another world built on top of ours, not in a supernatural type of way, but the idea that, right, if we zoom into your skin, you can see things on your skin that you wouldn't otherwise see. That's occulted, right? It's hidden from your plain sight. So again, that plant connection, alchemy, absolutely. But let's fast forward here, and it gets very Dr. Seuss like. It gets very weird, right? So we have this thing here, and then we have a whole bunch of. So here we go. So we have
the Lorax.
Lunar mansions. Right? Is this what this is called, Gabe? Lunar mansions? Like when you have like these layouts of Zodiac type esque?
Yes, man. This is the kirke. This is the sacred circle. This is the roots of the word church, is the circle, the kirke. So, and even like there are so many things about the circle. Voltaire was in the group of the encyclopedists. Well, that name encyclopedist, it's basically a think tank, a French think tank. It means the inner circle of knowing. And so that is one of the many call signs of when you see the word circle, it's for the initiates. Cecil Rhodes, his name basically has the word circle in his name, anagrammed in there. But he generated the secret society called Le Cercle, and they consumed all the other secret societies per his hidden sixth and seventh will.
They ate them all?
They consumed them all. There's no longer separate agendas in those brotherhoods. But I wanted to weave one real quick thing on the roots and
this is,
Trinity.
by the way, as well. These could be mandalas, 100%, like
Good.
mandalas
Yeah.
of some sort. So
Right.
go ahead. I'm sorry, Gabe.
Right. Well, even the word cipher has that relationship to the circle as well. These are all Pythagorean groups that use geometry as the code. In order to get into the temple, one must have mastery over geometry. But I want to say this. The roots, Romie, I'm so glad you mentioned the roots, man. That's the placenta. The roots are the placenta. The placenta is your ancestral knowledge, the ancestral wisdom. But also the word radical. Today, how many times do you hear the term radical used as a pejorative? They don't even put anything on the end anymore. They just say, oh, they're radicals. They can say radical left or radical right or whatever they want at the end of it. But it's the
Well, I
word
grew up
radical.
in the 80s when radical was awesome and totally
Radical
tubular.
was badass, yes. Well, radical actually means of the roots. And so what they're doing when they use that word as a pejorative is they're pulling you out of your roots. They're pulling you away from your connection to the land. And there's a whole lot more behind that weave. But I just wanted to point out that Homie Romie is on point as a mofo to point out the roots of those plants. And then also, Juan, what you were saying about the plant, animal, and mineral in that order. The plant is first, so you can, if you make a mistake, you just kill the plant, no big deal. The animal, the liabilities are higher when you deal with the animal alchemy. And then when you get into mineral alchemy, the stakes are at the utmost because you'll blow your damn self up if you fuck up with the minerals. So those are, you have to do them in those three orders.
Sorry
You
about
master.
it, Jack Parsons.
That's right.
Yeah,
you'll
baby.
get parsoned out. So I wanted to say on that, those holy trinities of alchemy, I believe that what Spinoza did was he separated church and state for a designated period of time so the social engineering could run its course. And then strangely enough, there is that is the anode. The cathode to that process was Hegel, because Hegel came in just before Napoleon came and wiped out anybody who could still read and understand Hegel. Hegel fused church and state together indelibly, and then Napoleon wiped everybody out. And so the quotes are that anybody who could read Hegel, he literally formed an alchemical Gordian's knot between church and state forever. And he used that Holy Trinity pattern, the problem, reaction, solution. And so anybody who could undo that Gordian's knot, they were wiped out when Napoleon came in and blazed through scorched earth technique. So I just wanted to put that all on the record. We're touching on like real heavy hitting facts that are intricately woven into this huge cipher. There's so much more other than knowing what those words mean. The pictures themselves are telling us so much. So I just wanted to throw all that on the table because we're breezing over some crucial points.
Is that a rat?
Very
What
much
the fuck is that? It looks like a water bear or something. I think you posted some water bear AI stuff, Paranoid American.
Oh, what tardigrades?
Honestly, I was thinking earlier, what if this was just a very early form of AI? So you know how like you just ask ChatGPT and it just starts spouting a bunch of nonsense and you can't really decipher it, or it just like makes things up. There could be like a autodidactic or like a automated writing version of this, right? Where someone just tapped into something and they essentially tapped into like some AI thing that just, we can't decipher it now. That might be encoded, and maybe it'll take AI to decipher it.
Dude, that's amazing. I mean, that's one of the theories. I'm sorry, I have to like talk into my computer now because my mic stopped working. Thank you, good old Mercurial Gatorade. But no, that's one of these like cool theories of that. This came from an alien source, and you have different manuscripts like that, like the Codex Giga, where they say that he had to channel in this like energy or the devil or whatever to write the Codex Giga in one night, which is physically impossible. So I think like what if this was like, I love that. I just love that, Thomas. You're amazing. I love you.
Well,
I love you, dude.
So again,
I love that pineal juice. I can see you secreting it right now, bro.
nice. Open your mouth. Open your mouth, Thomas. Open your mouth. So,
Mango. Eat mango,
that-
everybody. Eat mango, drink
that's-
coconut water. Let's go.
That's why I wanted to bring up like the Cthulhu connection and Cthulhu and Lovecraft and Crowley, because Crowley was in touch with this Cthulhu entity, and it could have been Cthulhu that he was in touch with. What, 30 years before Lovecraft was, or 20 years I think before Lovecraft was?
18.
18. Okay, so 18 years in 1909 or something or other, where he was in touch with this thing in a certain geographical area, right, Gabe, that we've talked about before.
Yeah, man.
So the idea of these entities again, it could be grays, it could be these tardigrades or whatever they're called, whatever it is, but some outside influence, right? Theurgical. In the intro song, I was talking about theurgy and how Plato was talking about the highest form of magic being theurgy, and
That was
using
William Cooper, by the way, not Jordan Waxwell.
Oh,
I had that wrong.
William Cooper. But theurgy is using outside influences to affect reality, your mundane reality, the reality that you can see. This is what churches are. These are what these different buildings are, and sometimes they're aligned to certain geometrical principles to invoke this energy and bring it down in a way, right?
Yeah. Just to kind of summarize a whole lot of our previous projects and research and what Juan just set out there. We did a deep dive on H.P. Lovecraft. Turns out the Cthulhu was summoned in 09 by Crowleyan ritual. He kept a document of it. He was in Algiers, New Orleans. And he actually did the big sex ritual on November 1st, which is All Saints Day. Keep that in mind. That's actually a very important date, I've learned. And so he summons Cthulhu and he writes it in his little notebook. 18 years later, Lovecraft fictionally writes about the exact same details of all the ritual in the same location on the exact same day, All Saints Day, November 1st, or it's like Dios los Muertos as well. Yeah, Symbolic was there with us, bro. What up, Mario?
Yeah, he was.
What up, Mario?
He was on that weave. And so what's fascinating about that is that New Orleans, in my territories map, it has two correspondences. The Mississippi River is the High Priestess card, and New Orleans is the Devil card. And Juan blew my mind a long time ago to find out that with the Lovecraft tarot deck, the Devil card is Cthulhu. And so that just fits like a hand in a glove in a major way. But then we always have these post-production revelations where I realized something way after we had the show. And that is that there is actually a crater off the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula where it's called the Chicxulub crater. It's unpronounceable. That's one of the characteristics of Cthulhu is you can't even say his name. The Chicxulub crater is, I'm probably fucking it up still.
Yeah, some weird noise.
It's like Chicxulub, I think, something like that.
Chicxulub, it's got to be, you're right. Well, it's on a geocoordinate line where if you draw a line from H.P. Lovecraft's location in R.H. Rhode Island, which is the Delaware Corporation, which is fucking Vatican rich, which is balls deep in the Biden family. If you draw a line from Rhode Island and you go right over Jekyll Island, you're on a perfect straight line, and guess where you land? Chicxulub crater. And the coordinates literally follow all of the numbers on the center line of the magical square of the moon, which is a trip and a half to me that I was following these numbers of the magical square of the moon, and lo and behold, I find fucking Chicxulub. So profound, so next level. So Cthulhu was summoned or brought forth into the public mind sphere with Pirates of the Caribbean. They had the fucking Davy Jones dude was a fucking squid-faced monster, was basically Cthulhu being seeded into the consciousness, much like Santa Claus, of these young consumers of modern-day culture.
Go, Gabe, go. Just
yeah, bro.
Segue it. Go, dude. We're riding this wave. Ride that shit. Go.
Let's do it. Okay, so if anybody watched Pirates of the Caribbean, there's so much going on here. There's so much going on. We've talked about the Lafitte, the Lafayettes, all of these pirates, so many pirates named Lafayette with their pirate treasures hidden all over the place. Big weave going on right there. Well, if you watch,
real quick one too, in
Yeah.
Operation Midnight Climax, the partner of one of the guys that was running the operation went by the name Lafayette, and he claimed to be a blood relative of the original Pirates Lafayette that all took place there.
yes, and we've got fucking how
We got 203. We did it.
yeah.
203 people in the chat.
Slap
Where we at on the chosen one though? Pull
Let's
that
see where
pull
we're at
that
on the
up.
chosen. Hold on, let me remove this because give me. So let's see here.
Sorry, Gabe, keep going.
No,
Yeah,
who's
sorry,
the
Gabe.
founder? Who's the founder of Scientology again?
Ron
Ron Hubbard.
His name is Lafayette, Ron Hubbard, right?
Right.
Yes, yes.
And they're rooted in Tampa Bay, Florida. You get me started on Tampa Bay. There's so much going on in Tampa Bay. It's psycho. But I'm gonna go back to the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the Pirates, young blood.
You got it, buddy. You got it. Which is the death card. But I'm going to try to stay the course here. At the end of Pirates of the Caribbean, they had the two ships were battling it out. They were riding on this double spiraling matrix on a maelstrom. Maelstrom has been a huge trigger word for me lately. Ever since the Nord Stream 2 pipeline got blowed the fuck up, I realized the word Nord Stream is the reverse. You could call it an anagram. You got to take some liberties. You got to switch the L to the ST. But you get Nord Stream in reverse is basically the word maelstrom. And so Nord Stream 2 was prophesizing its own demise because when they blew that fucker up, it turned into a fucking little maelstrom in the ocean. And then the media comes in and takes all these pictures. Well, guess what? I'm looking at the provenance of the Voynich manuscripts, and it comes to that Jesuit dude. I forget his name. Aloysius Kircher. Alabaster.
With
Yeah.
the magnetism.
Yes, that guy.
Yeah, I'll
If
bring
you
him
can
up
pull
here.
up any of the graphics, I've got that lineage of
previous owners of the manuscript. That guy, Kircher.
Kircher, the Kircher guy. He was prolific. He is profound. He is a huge rabbit hole in and of his own right. His entire biography is just like a steganographic a circle jerk.
That's written all about Kircher. If anyone wants a really good read on this super esoteric dude, that's called like The Last Man Who Knew Everything.
That's it, bro. And they even said like they started to persecute him because they said his writings were coming off as instructional manuals. They're like, bro, you're like giving up so much detail that you're clearly teaching people how to do things. You're not discouraging it any longer. He went way overboard with all that.
And real quick, Gabe, one of the things that about this guy was there was the impression back then and the belief that if you were able to decipher hieroglyphs, you had quite literally otherworldly knowledge because they believed that the Egyptians had the last, like the most of the knowledge at their time, that was the pinnacle for people back then. And this guy was, again, a cryptographer, and he had deciphered or translated Egyptian language. And again, he was doing what? He was de-occulting. Again, maybe I'm going to say maybe like a Crowley, because if anything, that's what Crowley's taught us, that there is this magical system right behind the fabric of reality that you're able to manipulate even as a regular layman. And this guy was kind of doing the same thing. Like, hey, they're like, yo, back it up, bro. Right? Back, bring it down. You're at a 10, bring it down to a 7 because you're showing the plebs and the peasants too much. You know what I'm saying?
That's exactly what was happening with this guy. It's next level with him. So one of the things he did a couple. So he had like 8 near-death experiences. Many of them were in water, which is a John the Baptist nod. That's one of the things about the Jesuits is one of their secrets, and it's not much of a secret anymore, is that they actually venerate the bloodline of John the Baptist. And they're a little offended with that Virgin Mary stuff. Virgin Mary, they're not down with Mary. And in fact, when you hear like Mount Mary and anything that defiles Mary, that's Jesuits saying, F you and your clique. We're down with John the Baptist. But anyway, he had a bunch of near-death experiences. One was in Mount Etna, the volcano of Mount Etna. One was in Vesuvius. He had these initiation rites where he gets hung upside down in these volcanoes. Then he goes on to write a book about inner Earth and the mechanics of the steam vents of inner Earth. And he predicted that there would be a maelstrom off
wait.
the...
Kircher?
Kircher
Bro.
predicted that there was a maelstrom off the coast of Norway and that it was the entrance to Hollow Earth. And now my bells and whistles are going all over the place that this motherfucker predicted a maelstrom off the coast of Norway. And we just had a Nord Stream maelstrom off the coast of Sweden. It's just around the corner. It's close enough for me.
It's the same thing. You can say it's the same thing.
It's the same damn thing, right? Well, guess what? When Roosevelt was getting the negotiation topics on the table after the World War, before they offed him, by the way, I'm pretty sure it was Roosevelt, Hitler, and Mussolini. They all died in April, exactly 78 years ago this month. 78 years ago this month. They all died within a couple weeks of each other. But before he died, one of his first priorities for negotiations after the war was, what are we going to do with Norway? And everybody's like, what is he talking about Norway? Why would Norway be a top priority? We got all these dead bodies. Why is he talking about Norway as his first priority? Well, guess what? Norway had a pie wedge of Antarctica. And Norway, apparently, per this fella Kircher, is the entrance to Hollow Earth tunnels. And so now, all of a sudden, we got people talking about maybe Admiral Byrd actually went north and he didn't go south. And so now we got entrances to Hollow Earth up near Norway, and we got Norway had a pie wedge of Antarctica.
Interesting.
And you connect those two dots, and you've got people signaling that they're in the know.
So also another thing that I found interesting about this Kircher guy is that not only he came up with combinatrix, whatever, something or other, a system for generating and counting all combinations of finite collection of objects based on the work of Raymond Lull. And right, we've talked about Lullyism, Dr. Illuminatus, right? Raymond Lull. But one of the things that I found interesting about this guy was his work on magnetism. And he wrote about magnetism and he studied magnetism. And the reason I bring that up is because Thomas and I did that work with René Descartes. And I think it's a grimoire, that story, right? That occulted story where he's talking about going to outer space and all these other places. And then one of the things he goes, you know what, I can't reveal to you the secrets of magnetism, because if I was, you'd quite literally go insane. But yeah, that's a very interesting,
and that's
connection.
after breaking down and going on an astral projection excursion where he explains the magic of the spheres, and he shows all about the balls and the orbs and how universes are created from scratch, and he shows how elements are formed and how matter is created from all of these different original forms.
But we can't touch magnetism.
Yeah, you can understand all that, but if I tell you how magnets work, just like ICP, bro, you don't want to blow those minds.
Because, and that's the thing with Raymond Lull, which was another cryptographer and another, he was at the forefront of computers and analog computers. He made one of the first analog computers. But these guys, right, magnetism, from what I was understanding, was that it was used to drive out certain forces. Now, this ties into that hidden God. Again, back to Crowley. Crowley talked about the hidden God. Carl Jung talked about the hidden God. You had, who else talked about the hidden God? There was another one, the God that comes from the north.
The
right?
speed
Magnetism.
between two magnets, the consciousness between two if you were to connect your consciousness between the two magnets, it's supposed to speed up your consciousness. Like that's what some occultists believe, that they would set magnets up at either end of a mirror or either end of your head to speed it up so you can jump into that next portal. So it's just like a portal opener as well.
Interesting.
And
Interesting.
Cleopatra used to sleep with a lodestone on her third eye.
And yeah, you have the lodestone lore, right? If you want to follow that lore and how
Mhm.
that unlocks certain things within humanity. I mean, we're talking about, all right, we started with the Voynich Manuscript, how maybe it has an effect on reality of some sort. And even, and I forgot where I read it, but it was, I forgot how they put it, but it was not the idea that it couldn't be translated, but I'll find it. But anyways, the idea that it exists and that they're not able to that has an effect on it, right? The fact that it's occulted and you don't know what it means. Not that, you know what I'm saying? Like, even if you were to crack it, but just the sheer fact that you don't know what it means has an effect on your reality in some form or other. And again, I could be butchering it. I heard somebody put it and then they blew my mind when I was listening to it. But again,
I love that.
You know what I mean? Like, you guys get me. You guys know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and even think about the fact that the greatest code crackers of history all channeled their effort into it, and that makes it a hyper sigil. I heard, I don't know if you guys heard this, but it was like during the World Wars when they were trying to make all the codes, you know, the Enigma, they were trying to crack the Enigma code, that while those code crackers on their spare time, their group collective hobby was working the Voynich manuscripts.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
And they have crowdsourced the fuck out of it still to this day. And a lot of people, a lot of very smart people have channeled their, you could say it's their admiration, but it's even more than that, their energy, their effort into it. So that makes it a hyper sigil. Its reputation alone is something of the utmost magnitude. And now, before we come,
if they only knew, all they had to do was go to our Patreons, and they would have had the entire thing decoded, bro.
For $666, you can sign up for the top tier. It's an occulted tier. You can't even see it, and you can learn about. There's a series of clicks and stuff that you have to type into once you get to the Patreon page. But let's check the Kickstarter here. We have 212 people in the live stream. We have 28 people signed up. Let's get to 33 by tonight. Come on. I mean, we can do 33, right? And I just want to let my audience know that there are a whole bunch of degenerates. I see the comments you guys are leaving, okay? I see what you guys are saying. And
you know what? We're gonna have homie Romie eat an entire mango for every 10 people that sign up to the Kickstarter.
I will swallow this core, and I've been sucking on it, just waiting for somebody to hit that button on that.
Let me see you put that in your mouth again, Romie.
He'll deep throat the mango.
Let me see you put that in your mouth again, bro. Damn, dude. Yeah.
Mango corp. There's more where that came from, baby. I got bananas. I got mangoes. I got Jabota Kavas. I got Suriname cherries. I got ice cream beans. Let's go.
Oh my goodness.
You're gonna get us pulled from or whatever. We're everywhere. We're on Twitch.
The first channel to get pulled for someone deep throating a mango.
Oh. Man,
so
yeah.
Juan, can you pull up any of those crazy graphics I dropped? I threw out probably 6 or so just at the tail end of our Telegram.
Yeah, it was a lot. I'm sweating right now. I'm having a great time, by the way, guys. I just want to say that.
This is big
really
fun.
This is really fun. So,
I also want to say this tonic is nuts, y'all. 1 part lemon, 1 part honey, half part ginger.
Ooh.
And bro, just straight. Let's go.
Sounds like it tastes like
what was the
shit,
ginger's
bro.
name?
Rufus.
Hey, you know, I was just thinking, Gabe, you were talking about magnets and putting people's heads between magnets. Isn't that what we're doing right now with headphones on? Aren't there just 2 magnets on both sides of my head right now?
And I just did an episode, right? I just did an episode with Stacy Brown Jr. And we talked about, spoiler alert, it's going to come out soonish. They went to the Conjuring house and they did their version of the Monroe Gateway experience, right? Talking about headphones and stuff. And he broke down on the episode his experience where he says he time traveled. I mean, he said he time traveled, dissolved, and he explained to me everything that he saw. But I'm just thinking about, again, putting these phones, where we go when we put these things on, how you're saying these 2 magnets and the magic happens, right? So,
and we let the voices tell us what to do.
All right, let me pull it up here. You send me so much shit, Gabe.
I know,
so which one
man,
do you want
I
me to
know.
pull up?
But you can do any of them. I just want to run through and check for any hanging chads, because they're kind of in no particular order. But it turns out, you know, the last fella to have the Voynich before it came into the public arena, you know, his birth name was Michael, which was Spinoza's father's name, and he changed his name after he married his wife Ethel Voynich. He changed his name to Wilfred, and this brings things into a fascinating full circle, because Rudolf is the red wolf. And now we're talking about red, the color. We're also talking about educated, well-read. To be erudite is to
In
be
alchemy.
rude. Yes, erudite wolf. To have the knowledge of the all the books and all the things collected. Okay, so
Wait, this is blurry AF. Hold up.
yeah, that one is wild, but I can fill it in. I can bring people in on this. So the last fella to have it, his name was Wilfred. That's the reverse of Rudolph. Wolf red, Rudolph, Wolf red. This is the red wolf and the wolf red. So there's an alchemical wedding that happens from the place where it was picked up from John Dee and Edward Kelly. We have a red wolf, and on the
red
tail,
powder of transmutation, by the way, which
you got it, buddy. Yes,
Dried pizza sauce.
Yep.
dried pizza sauce. Absolutely. So yeah, there was an alchemical wedding with their names. Yes, the sack red color. You got it, D. You got it, bro. So this little graphic that I put together, okay. So his wife, Wilfred's wife, her name is Ethel Voynich, and she is a fascinating study in her own right. The fellow who I was watching the documentary, he actually said at the end of the documentary that he regretted not spending more time focusing on her, because the more he looked, the more fascinating she proved to be. Okay. Now, she wrote a novel that put her on the map. Oh, she was definitely influential. She was probably royal blood of some sort. She wrote a book called The Gadfly. And the Gadfly is a reference to a great many things all at once. It's such a loaded term. It's fascinating how a single reference, you look into it, and it turns out that was the nickname of Socrates. He was nicknamed the Gadfly of Athens because he was constantly pesting people with questions. He was always prodding them to bring out more, to birth more ideas. He was the midwife of concepts. He was the mystagogue of science, and he was the handmaiden of the soul. And so the single word gadfly is a nod to Socrates, and there's so much meaning to that. But it also is brought up in the Bible in quite a few different places. And it turns out there's a couple lines in the Bible. I can barely read it. Isaiah 7:18. It talks about, on that day the Lord will whistle for the fly, that is the scrusis of the streams of Egypt, and for the bee, that is the land of Assyria.
sources.
Oh, thank you. That is a reference to the Mississippi River. The sources of the streams of Egypt, that is the Mississippi River. The land of Assyria, by many people's theories and philosophies, is northern North America. And in the next reference to the gadfly in the Bible is, let's see, the Neo-Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar is also referred to as a type of fly, this time as a gadfly or a biting fly by the Joseph Jeremiah.
By the prophet Jeremiah.
Oh, thank you, the prophet. A beautiful heifer is Egypt. A gadfly from the north lights upon her. I see this as a reference to the northern lights. The northern lights would be sparking. Some people say that they can actually hear electromagnetic effects of the northern lights, probably on the power lines around them. But it's just interesting that there's a buzzing, there's a reference to lights, there's a reference to the north, and sure enough, Assyria, this north part of North America, is they do see the northern lights from time to time. And so I put this little picture of the Dark Knight satellite just for fun. This is me taking it to, Slick Dissident levels. But the Dark Knight satellite has a strange nose. It always reminded me of Thoth, Tehuti, or Thoth, this god of Egypt who is known for keeping records. He always has a stylist, some sort of writing mechanism, much like Santa Claus, who lives at the poles, keeping a list and checking it twice. Well, guess what? The Dark Knight satellite has a circumpolar orbit. It buzzes around from one pole to the next. It's not going east to west. It's got circumpolar orbit. So I put that in this graphic just for the heck of it, because it all reminded me of the many things I've thought about regarding the Dark Knight satellite. So that's what that graphic was all about.
And also, real quick, and correct me if I'm wrong, Romie, but didn't Falconelli talk about not even letting a fly be in the room while you were working on your alchemical shenanigans? Was it him that talked about that? Because we have the movie The Fly, and what happens to him? There's a fly that jumps into the teleporter, and then he's fused with that fly, right?
Whoa.
Oh, The Fly is such a good movie, dude. But yeah, no, the fly. I think a fly comes up a couple times symbolically in Falconelli's writings, and what's interesting about that too, because Gabe, when he was bringing up the gadfly in the chats, was like really interesting. I was like, dude, that's because the last owner of the Voynich book, where the Voynich family bloodline gets the name, they get to keep the royalties to the Voynich Manuscript. It's called the Voynich. So the fact that she wrote the book, The Gadfly, was really fascinating, and I thought that was a great weave. Found the entire audiobook available by online too, so you guys can listen to the whole book. But
isn't that
point
from
I was getting at,
Back to the Future, McFly?
Dog dicks, and like Juan brought up a long time ago, how to make a homunculus, and the gadfly is always floating around in animals' genitals.
Ooh,
and
what?
So that's why it's like interesting if you're using a lot of penises in alchemical situations to make whatever. If you have any gadflies in the room, you might not be able to actually fulfill that alchemical purpose.
As anyone would, right? In their alchemical right, they would use any.
If you're not playing with penises in your alchemical work, what the hell are you even doing?
Shake it twice, man, or else you're just playing around. But you got to do when the full moon is in Scorpio, 6 days after the waxing wane. Thou shalt shake it only specifically to get the final drop into the still.
Yeah, buddy. So right. while we got this map up, I just want everybody to just put a little mental note on New Orleans, which is it is literally the feet of the Mississippi River. Mississippi River is a menorah. The 7 streams of the Mississippi River make the shape of a menorah. Shaking 20 there's the sex ritual.
I can't do this anymore. Hold on. It's so hard to see in these, man. Okay. All right, let's get serious for 1 second. I'm sorry.
Hey, give this topic the respect it deserves.
I'm so sorry. Oh, man, this chat is killing me, bro. All right.
Humongulous what?
Humongulous.
Humongulous what?
I'm done. By the way, I want to add real quick, Marty McFly, that's MM, Mickey Mouse, MGM, right? You have that 13th letter of the alphabet.
88 miles per hour, dude.
Mary Magdalene, you had 88 miles per hour. What if Back to the Future was some alchemical cipher as well?
Oh, big time.
What if? Come on, dude.
Are
you fucking kidding me, dude? You're late to the party, dude. Come on, dude.
Yeah, bro. And, this was kind of a cool weave we put together recently was if H is the 8th letter, you put 88, there's 88 constellations. So as above, right? As above, the H and the 8 comes together and it makes hate, which is a synonym for vitriol. And anybody who knows the acronym, the vitriol is like journey. Homie, you got it. Journey to the center of the earth and find the philosopher's stone within. Am I close enough? But that's the
Yeah,
that,
vitriol literally means the central stone.
you got it, man. So the 88 constellations above, and then the hate in the vitriol will turn you inward to look within and bring forward your higher self. And that's quite true, man. You fucking transmute some vitriol, you can get some shit done.
Is that
Like, you
related
gotta
to
go in-
Vril too?
Yes.
Because
Yep.
we have the 8, right? We were talking about Adolf earlier. Well, Adolf was trying to what, right? The Vril and the Thule Society, and they were trying to find the vitriol as well, right? Which isn't that related to Rosicrucianism, or is it?
Yeah, man.
Masons?
And this is why the elitists act like they're gods, like they're above the law, and then they tell you about it and flaunt it. And then the laptop years later, oh, look what's this laptop, and then they pass it back and forth like a fucking. This is just to get your fucking blood boiling, and as
Yeah.
long as your blood is boiling, then your Protestant work ethic will steer you right onto the treadmill.
What happened, bro?
That's glorious. No, that's nuts though. The 88, yeah, the constellations playing into that, and like as above, below, like that's so beautiful.
Yeah,
And that
bro.
touches on the Voynich Manuscript and the roots being shown, and the importance of, the tree of life is always depicted with the same amount of branches as the same amount as roots. The Yggdrasil goes up and it goes down. Baby, get on the elevator. The shaft is moving.
Yeah, buddy. Yep. And I've been looking at the mining industry, and I don't want to derail us too much, but something really weird is going on. Like,
I have been saying to fucking motherfuckers, I'm like, y'all better watch the miners. The miners been
something fucked up is going on around that. Like, so I got Joe Biden is Hades 1,000 ways from Friday. He's got the shades. He's got the Bident is his fucking name. The RoboNet and the Bident. Hades was snatching up kids and taking them into the underworld.
And
All
the
of it's-
Bident and the Trident are basically the same thing. The original Trident was the same as like the double-headed axe, which just evolved over time.
Right. Well, this is a real huge weave, but technically, to be a nerd, Thomas, the Trident is in King Charles's hands. He's rocking the Cipher of Neptune. And Biden is rocking the Biden. So I got the whole pantheon pinned on the world stage right now. So they are literally playing God. And I could go into all the details. But what's weird here is it's not just metaphoric. It's not just coincidences around their names. And it's not like they're just wearing the mantle, okay? Things get real fucking like literal. And I kind of freak myself out. Scranton is a coal mining town. There are entire family dynasties that are deeply rooted in the earth of that location. Scranton in reverse is not narcs. These are the secret keepers. You seal those lips shut. And miners, we talk about miners go under the earth and they dig up all the precious gems. Well, Hades is the god of earth-based mineral fortunes. So Joe Biden is not just coincidentally posing as Hades. His family is literally putting miners, small children who can fit in crevices, to bring forth the treasures of the earth. They've been doing it for generations in Scranton, Ohio. And then this gets into Michael Wan's work with the anthracite coal and the Herkimer diamonds on the two ends of the Susquehanna River. Something really next level is going on, and it's not just coincidence.
Isn't that where the show The Office is
bang
from?
bang.
Scranton, Ohio, and then we have Michael Scott, the character,
Alchemist.
and we have Michael Scott, the necromancer / alchemist / theologian / church father / whatever else.
Yeah, man. And we got Hillary. Hillary's from Scranton.
Really?
These are they're the not narcs, man. They got big secrets going on around there, man. In the first, let's go back to the Hermetic principles. The first Hermetic principle is all begins in the minds. As above, so below. It starts up here with the vitriol, and it goes down into the earth where the kids go do all the work. Then you find out there's a bunch of kids missing. You get pissed off, and you go pay your taxes.
Yo, the Wizard of Oz, the one they made, the second one that Disney produced in the 80s. There's that Wizard of Oz live action movie from the Disney in the 80s. That is super fucking dark, but definitely has a scene where towards the end that she's like, and you know, it's like Jim Henson style, right? There's like straight robotic puppets in this film. It's Wizard of Oz, live action, Disney.
It's like
from the 80s.
steampunk, right? It's like steampunk
It's like
Wizard of
steampunk
Oz.
as fuck, and it's so good. And it's like all about the child gets abducted. Anyways, they go into the inner earth in that one. She falls into a time tunnel.
Yes.
And it's all about magnetics, and you know, it's Ozzy. I mean, we know that he was a theosophist and shit. So
Right.
I think
You
that's
know who
you're
else
saying
went
is
into
on
the inner
point.
earth would be like Persephone, which went down the rabbit hole, right, and goes and meets Hades, and that journey into the center of the earth, that is being occulted. That is like dying and being brought back unto life. That's, I mean, Slick's gone into this before, but it's very astrological as well, where she would go under the earth and then come back out of the earth 9 months later, which followed a lot of the same sort of like breeding habits of that part of the world for like
Absolutely.
snakes that would go underground and come back above ground once it was time.
Right. And Alice has to become smaller. She's too big, and so she has to drink certain potions and concoctions with minimal disclosure agreements. Like it always says to drink me, okay, you know, so she can fit.
Well, it's very Paracelsian. That's very like you know, the dose is the medicine.
Yes. And we just had a weave over on the Interverse recently. Just tonight, we were talking about Cyprus, and the story of Attis is a youth who is cast down to this island. He gets castrated, and then he has to impress his mom to be won back into her good graces. But Cyprus,
Do you like uncastrate yourself to impress your mom? How do you do that?
I don't think he gets uncastrated. I think he actually gets castrated to impress her. But that island that's where copper gets its name. Cyprus is where copper mines were located, and for a child to be punished and put on that island is probably another nod to this mining industry. Oh, and huge weave here.
Pinocchio just came back up here.
Pinocchio, right there, y'all. They're telling us, and we're supposed to be entertained to condone it. We're entrained to condone it. And this is a side weave, but I recently discovered about the silver mines of Athens. And that the silver mines, if you look into the history of that particular silver mine, they straight up say that they lost track of how many kids were lost to that industry. They just send them into places, and maybe something collapses, but we didn't keep track because we don't care. And so now I'm looking at Greece, and I'm looking at their inappropriate relationships with children, and how it's even mapped out in the legacy of the Symposium of Plato's Republic. And I'm like, they're talking about becoming the caretakers of children as casually. Are they taking these kids in and putting them to work in the silver mines of Athens? Is that what's right there for us to interpret if we have the eyes to see?
Well, didn't Athens also had to send the children of the elites into the labyrinths, right? And basically sacrifice to the bull gods of the
gold
Minoans.
to make gold.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, you got the oven, the Moloch oven.
It takes gold to make gold. Yep.
There's some crazy shit going on the background of all these stories, and we just think they're cute and fascinating. But I think that they're like darkly morbid, and they're revealing it to us, and that's part of what draws us in. That's part of what gives them staying power. These stories. But now that I got that lens on, man, I'm going to see it everywhere I look. It's popping up left and right with it in mind. And the thing about Biden being Hades, being Pluto, being Dis, there is some next level shit going on with that, y'all. I don't want to.
So did Hades' earlobes connect, or did they not connect? This is an important question.
I don't get it. Why?
Yeah.
Well, because there's multiple versions of Biden where there's like some versions where his earlobes connect and some version where they don't connect.
That's funny. That's
Mhm.
funny. Yeah, they do that, the doppelganger factor with all of them. And that's to keep you guessing. Weaponized doubt. Always. They had the same thing with the last fool who was in there.
So real quick, right? We have the sorry, speaking of minds, his work on
Sure.
the Mundus
Yes.
Subterraneous, right? So the subterranean world, right? Reality, whatever you want to call it. Very interesting.
So
Yep.
what's cool too, like, so that Freddie Silva wrote a really good book called The Lost Art of Resurrection. And it's all about his study into the Templars, 3 days under in the tomb initiation ceremony thing. And that ties into the Masonic caves where they go in there for 3 days and they come out, He's saying that this dates back just way too many thousands of years. And it's just like one of the earliest important things to connect to that etherical realm is to like completely be in darkness and just like the king's chamber and the pyramid, it's so small that you basically sit in it. So, like you have to lay down and you have to basically astral project into that. And I think
it's almost like you're fasting from light also.
Did you guys hear about that lady that went underground and she was supposed to be underground for 500 days and she was supposed to finish a book and she said she didn't finish the book and she was like, wait, you guys are coming out to get me already? Like, I don't remember it being 500 days, but she was like by herself.
Yeah, dude, they've done crazy studies where if they put someone in isolation and they take away your ability to track the passage of time, there's a very specific sort of formula to like how much time a normal person would usually stabilize, and it's like they'd sleep for 20 hours and then be awake for like 30 hours and then go back to sleep for 20 hours. Like you fit into a completely different schedule naturally because your circadian rhythm doesn't get the same sort of biofeedback from sunlight and everything else.
And that's the exact reason why the pyramids and the cathedrals, which are pyramids, they're just a different form of the art, are built on magnetic hotspots. And Prague itself, where the book lied for many, many years, is one of these magnetic anomalies on the ley line map. So it's just like you go in the tomb of a lot of these old cathedrals and, you just like have your ceremonies, man. We need to go underground from time to time just to figure some shit out. I mean, let's do it.
Well, so there is a researcher here in Florida that is going underground he's going to try to be underground and break the world record. I forgot how many days it was, or not underground. I'm sorry, underwater. He is staying in an underwater hotel. And I was thinking about hitting that dude up and interviewing him. Because
great idea.
He is seeing, he's studying what the effects of, I guess, separation from humanity or civilization does to you, and he's studying. I don't know if he can do a podcast right now from underwater, but he is staying. I found his information, so I was thinking about reaching out and having him on the show once he was out. I guess 'cause I think he's still under there.
I have a friend whose brother is in the Navy, and it's like he's telling me about all of the technology that the Navy works on, which is mind blowing. Of shit you've never even thought of because you're not in the water that much, as a normal person, whatever. But a land surf, if you will. The basic entire ocean is mapped out through just like movements. They can track anything from like massive distances away, like through satellite technology and underwater like vibrational radios and different instruments that pick up like whale songs from Alaska all the way in Fiji and what have you, which is really interesting because we always have the lore of like, well, we don't know what the sea floor looks like, it's like you out your damn mind. You sure as shit we do. That's where all the good shit's at, bro.
The we is more like you. You don't know what the sea looks like.
I've been there. I seen it. I put myself in a glass bottle just like Alice and I floated my way down. Hey,
you got to get that submarine ticket for the Ghislaine Maxwell tour, right?
Maybe getting rubber shoes like back in the movies, like, hey, we're gonna put your feet in rubber cement and sink you to the bottom. Maybe that was an initiatory practice. You actually had to get floating under there, and then you had to if you swam your way up, came up later, newly birthed out of the womb with a dirty
alchemical river where the nuclear waste plant just flows right above the creek bed. You get a little anyways, yeah, astral projection from cement shoes. It could, I think it could be initiatory, man. I mean, it's the mobs, man. It's the secret society itself, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Sleep
Yeah,
with-
isn't there an
sleep
occult
with the
connection
fishes.
with the mobs and the occult? You would know about that, Thomas, right?
Well, there's some interesting theories. I don't know how much credit all of them got, but that the actual word mafia is an acronym for, and it stands for like Mazzini authorizes like kidnappings, rape, and arson or something. I don't remember what the exact acronym is, but that link between Mazzini and the Carbonari and the mafia is very real. And if you look up the actual symbol of the Carbonari, it is the most occult I mean, because the Carbonari is supposed to be a political secret society. They got a pentagram. They've got like black and white represented there. Like it is extremely occult. And honestly, I don't think that there's been nearly enough research into the occult origins of the Carbonari, and that's kind of this direct link between true occultism and like political sort of revolutionaries.
Damn, dude, like that's crazy too, because carbonari and carbonara, a fantastic sauce, are both pizza sauces. You know what I'm saying? So
they are pizza sauce. That is a pizza sauce.
Shit.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh
shit!
man.
Full circle.
I fuck with carbonara. Let's go.
I mean,
So-
even if you're going into the mafia, right? Like if you've seen all the movies, it's a very occult ritual. You burn like a card of a saint, and there's bloodletting. It's essentially blood magic that takes place.
Mm-hmm.
So let's bring it here real quick, Gabe. Oh man, I just exited everything on my screen. Hold up. Let's bring it here real quick because I think this is important, right? Because I have occulted gods on the title, but one of the things that we didn't touch on, right, with Spinoza and the connection with Einstein, where he says, "I believe in Spinoza's God who reveals himself in the harmony of all that exists, not in a God who concerns himself with the fate and the doings of mankind." Now, that was Albert Einstein. And I don't know if you guys have seen the Tinfoil Hat episode with him and Bjerknes of how Einstein was a fraud and perhaps had a woman handler. It was actually his wife or something or other who was the one behind all the workings and everything that he did. And
Well, that ruins one of the best Einstein jokes in that case.
Why?
What was the smartest thing that ever came out of? And then I'm not gonna say it. That's for the Patreon only.
All right, sign up for the Patreon, patreon.com/101podcast. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about with Spinoza was that he inspired Gottfried Leibniz, or Leibniz, however you want to say it.
Yeah, man.
And because Spinoza, right? Spinoza was criticized for what? For wanting to turn God into what? A substance. He wanted to break God down into a particle. And I think this is what inspired monadology with Leibniz and all these other guys, where they were trying to encapsulate, right? It all comes full circle. So what are they trying to achieve? Well, what if they're quite literally trying to bottle God down into a particle? Or maybe look at CERN, right? Like that's like the most vanilla conspiracy theory. Like, oh, look at what they're doing at CERN. They're opening up portals and they're clashing. What if that's what they're trying to do? They're trying to break God down into a substance, right? And again, these occultists will quite literally go to whatever lengths possible in order to, right? Who was the one that tried to buy the Holy Spirit or the power of God? Was it Simon Magus? He was trying to buy the Holy Spirit and the miracles, in the Bible, and he was levitated by some demons, and then the other guy was like, "Yo, drop him," and they dropped him to his death after he was trying to buy. So again, I think Spinoza is at the core of that. And I mean, if you really look at what Einstein, I mean, he shaped this thing that we call science or seance. And I mean, some people don't believe anything else but that, treading lightly, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, man. Okay, there is so much on the table right now. So much, buddy. Okay, I really want to substantiate the thing about the woman being the handler. That is a pattern. Because
Fulcanelli as well.
Yes, in a lot of religious practices, the male works in the public side. The male is the public-facing persona that takes all the hits. They're out there getting their hands dirty. And the female stays in the private. And that is oftentimes practiced in a very spiritually sanctified way. Yes, the women, well, this is because it works. The reason why is because it has worked for a very long time. And there is so much behind it. And I'm not trying to say that all these women are bad or whatever.
Well,
I'm
no,
saying
but women are way better at keeping secrets than men are. So, like,
that
if there are any female-only secret societies, we still don't know about them because that's how good they are.
there is so much to it, man. There's so much to it. And yeah, so that this is just
They are
scratching the
serpent
surface.
Sacred, bro. The sacred
That's-
serpent.
That's right. They keep those hands clean. That's what's going on. So, and then what Juan was saying about, well, let me just kind of run through what's on here, and then I want to come to the substance, because that is a huge gateway right there, buddy. So, Nag Hammadi scriptures come out, they were processing those for years before they came public. But pretty much the same week that they come public, the CIA pops on the scene. So Nag Hammadi scriptures are like the New Age Gnostic Bible to keep theology alive in some way,
It's like
shape, or
Gospel of
form.
Thomas, Gospel of Judas, right? Maybe not Judas.
Yes. And then the CIA is very much like the Jesuit order to kind of act as the stewards or the shepherds of these organizations that are going to branch out over this re-injection of this Gnostic concept. There's a whole new wave back from 47, year after Crowley passed away. And let me just say this. I have so much to say. The word Gnostic is a new terminology. It's a new term. And for hundreds of years, they used to call people who were in the inner knowing, who had who received information on another level, they used to call them Spinozists. The original term for an atheist, it was like a pejorative term. If you were
You're correct. Yep.
If you had atheist leanings, then they would label you a Spinozist, and that went on for a very long time. And then something happened here around the turn of this generation, right around Einstein's time. They start to retract that use of the word Spinozist. They start to use atheist a little more, and now they're putting out the word Gnostic. So this word, atheist, Spinozist, and Gnostic, they all have a strange similarity, and there are fine minutiae details that are different, but it's something to consider, this evolution of this secret sect, this underground movement. And now I want to put this forward. Nag Hammadi literally translates to serpent maid. The Nagas is the snake, it's the serpent. Madi is the mother of. This is the serpent mother. The word scriptures is a phonetic anagram. It's not exact, it's phonetic. It's the sounds for persecuted, for persecutes. These are the people who are persecuted. And if you look up all the synonyms for persecute, you're going to find the first synonym is plague. All the other synonyms are strange little attributes of what happens to believers of the Bible. And the last line in the Bible is, if you so much as add to or remove from or alter anything in this book, you will have all of the plagues of this book beset upon you.
How
And
convenient.
I find it quite fascinating how the word scriptures and the word persecutes are so closely related in just the most amazing fashion. So that being said, also God, the symbols for God that make up this three-letter word, three-letter agencies. The G is the alchemical symbol for salt. The O is the bonding agent, which is playing the mercurial role in the middle, in the transitional space, the liminal space. And the D is the symbol for sulfur. The periodic symbols for God, for sulfur, mercury, and salt, mercury, and sulfur, spell out NaHGS, Nagas. So the serpent, this is the real Gnostic wisdom I'm handing over to y'all, is that it is all alchemical. In the Luciferian order, they are actually worshiping the periodic table. They are worshiping the ability to make things fucking explode. They are worshiping the big fucking bang. And so the Enlightenment movement of the Luciferian agenda is nothing more than periodic table worshipers. And they worship the ability to blow shit up. Now, Spinoza was exiled. He was excommunicated. He was charim. He was charan. He was given over to Hades, into the negative space, into the unseen, the no longer acknowledged. And he was I am becoming to believe, the more I look into his philosophy, his metaphysical philosophy, he was bonding philosophy and religion and separating church and state, which later Hegel did the opposite. He undid that entire process. But I believe that Spinoza's God that Einstein was talking about is the God of the wilderness. It's pantheism. It sounds great. It sounds wonderful. I'm learning a lot. I'm not disparaging this individual, but I want to caution everybody that if you agree to venerate another person's God, that is a God that somebody else has control over. Somebody else has dominion over it. He redefined entire terms that you think you understand what these words mean. If you haven't read the glossary of Spinoza, then you are getting into a worldview that you don't fully understand. And you may agree to terms and conditions that were not disclosed to you. You didn't read the fine print. You're like, pantheism sounds pretty good. I'll go with it. And you agree, you jump on board. You're all about that big bang. Well, let me just tell you, the word substance, one of the key linchpin terms of Spinoza's worldview, substance, it is also means understanding. To substand is to understand. And when you understand in court, you are bound to the contract. They got you, they lock you in. As soon as you understand, as soon as you give substance to the contract, you are locked into a system that you didn't read all. I didn't read all of Black's Law Dictionary. Did you? Well, Spinoza has a dictionary, a whole glossary of his own, where he takes the words and they mean things that you don't fully understand and you don't have full affluence over the system that he is espousing. And so I'm just telling people to tread cautiously when you get into these pantheistic worldviews, because they have literally redefined the words that you think you're using. And you might, if you get behind Spinoza's God, that's not necessarily everybody else's God. And for another thing is I kind of take offense to the idea that he made this philosophy that is like, no matter what you say, it's part of the God that I've already defined. You know what I mean? I'm a little offended that I lose my individuality by even entertaining his worldview.
This is like arguing with someone that always says infinity plus one, right?
That's
Whatever you said plus infinity plus one.
That's exactly what's going on. So I just wanted to put that forward, that ever since I started looking into Spinoza, I'm like, I agree with this guy, but it makes me uncomfortable that I agree with him. And the fact that he's, speaking for my worldview before I can even test his own theories. I just think everybody should tread trepidatiously around these worldviews before you jump on board or subscribe to them or identify with them, because we have the freedom of association. And when somebody dresses you up in advance, then they can label you, then they can give you favoritism. It goes right into legalities in a most fascinating way. And so what I see with Spinoza's language is it's almost like he's melded the metaphysics and philosophy into a legal paradigm. And so something really fascinating is happening when you look at this language metaphysically, scientifically, philosophically, and with legal eyes. Something really strange is going on with that motherfucker. And I'm inclined to believe that there is a breakaway civilization operating under Spinozian physics and a worldview that I haven't finished reading all the terms of the agreement. They're really elaborate and fine print. And then the last little spiel on this graphic is that his book, The Ethica. Now, his book was written in many languages. So you'll find this as the Ethicus in some languages, but this one is an anagram for the CIA.
Oh shit, yo.
Yo.
And Ordine Geometrico Demonstratus or Demonstrata is an anagram for the GOD, and that is the salt, mercury, and the sulfur.
Is it like the order of like shape and demonstrata? That's like ground, like the demonstrata, like that's like body, geometric body. The order of the, I don't know. What does demonstrata mean? That's a
Demonstration.
Demonstration, but you do notice the word demon in there. And I will say something that is, now this is I've already spieled long and hard, but geometrical, no offense to any Masons in the group, but they're
now I gotta piece out.
But their whole symbol is that compass, right? Well, that is actually an implement, a steganographic nod to one of the Greek muses of geometry, Urania, and she is often depicted with a globe and a Masonic compass. But she is also the goddess of astronomy, which is kind of one of the secrets of her. People think that she's all about geometry, but she's also the goddess of the angles of the angels of the heavens above as well.
So, man, okay. And I don't know where I have the definition of chaos magic, because this ties into a little bit like in the chaos magic aspect of it all, right? Because we have here symbolic and linguistic constructs that can be manipulated to achieve certain ends but have no absolute or objective truth value in themselves, right? And chaos magic is the rejection of all fixed models of reality, reflects one in the central tenets: nothing is true, everything is permitted. Because I mean, how you're saying they're attaching substance to things that are, right, it's different than what we've been accustomed to believing, right? I mean, that's where you're able to twist words around to equal certain things. And one of the aspects of chaos magic as well is adopting things and then just throwing it out after you're done with it, right? You just chuck it to the wind and whatever happened. But I think that's a little bit of what's going on here. And I mean, the fact that grimoire, right? Book of Spells, we talked about the Voynich being maybe a grimoire of some sorts. We have the Baconian aspect of there, of William shake the spear. You have the language aspect, the Kabbalah, phonetics, etc. Absolutely. Right. I mean, yeah, this goes deep, bro. I'm trying to find the definition of chaos magic that I had a while back, but that ties to Crowley, H.P. Lovecraft. Again, that's why they adopt that's why they adopt the Cthulhu mythos and they use them as real deities, because it doesn't matter, because chaos is limitless and boundless. So use whatever works for you. And that's what a lot of people don't understand when it comes to these. Again, back to the question that I first asked at the beginning, Slick, are they doing this consciously, or is it something in the subconscious that's leading these things? Because the way you paint, it's almost like they're doing this on purpose. Are they doing it on purpose?
That's a very good question. These things, they do comport to the order of the heavens. And I'm inclined to believe that, people want to poo-poo on astronomy and astrology, but there is just such a small gap between what astronomy and astrology is all about when you really get deep on it. And I'm talking about Lumashi star speak here. I'm talking about John McHugh and some of the proofs that he's found in how those stars are fused into our stories, which are fused into our psyche. Well, there's only a tiny little jump from that system, which is not chaotic. It is highly functional, and what we call and accept as psychology. And the difference between astronomy and psychology, it becomes really obvious when you start to read Carl Jung. And you start to see that there is psychology is basically socially accepted mysticism and occultism in right there in plain sight. So that's kind of answering your question. But
I've got another answer I wanted to throw in there too, where it's almost like if you're really good at seafaring, right? Like we were talking about naval intelligence. If you've got that OG naval intelligence and you know how to steer a ship and how to move with the waves. It's not that you're making those waves happen and you're forcing your way through the waves. It's just that you know how to read the waves, you know how to read the swells and the wind, and that's sort of the same sort of premise, I think, here, where it's not like they're like encoding these specific messages. They just realize, oh, here's this information I want to get out. Here's the way I want it to get out. Here's the path I want it to take. And knowing all of that up front, then you can be like, oh, well, we can weave it this way and weave it that way. And that's where, you know, that you find the right words. Because just like the English language is one of those unique ones where there's 20 or 30 ways to say the exact same thing. So now it's up to you on how you want to encode that. And that gets into almost the trivium, right? That gets into the grammar, which is knowing what words you can use, the logic, which words in which order make the most sense, and then the rhetoric is where you get to do all your cool encoding and break out the secret decoder ring.
Yeah, man. Yep. On that vein, you know, my work on the Enneagram is a very, very simplified, boiled down lens. You know, I think of it as like decoder glasses, and it's very simple. Like I said, it's basically 9 personality types, 9 tendencies of behavior. And when a person gets stressed out, they'll kind of move in one direction. And if they get encouraged, you know, they'll move in the opposite direction. So it's got a carrot and a stick dynamic to it. Well, in the media, they can basically manipulate the dynamics of the Enneagram, like you said, with word choice. Something just as simple as word choice. If they run a headline that says, "Oh, we're not gonna have enough masks," then they know what's going to happen because they know exactly how many number 6 homunculus are out there running around who are going to need to respond in just a certain way. So yeah, it is very much like steering a ship, or you could think of it as driving a chariot with 9 different horses, and each horse needs to be manipulated and pull that tether in just a certain way to get the collective to
or reindeer.
Or reindeer, big nice full circle. So this brings us to Wilfred Voynich, the Wolfred Voynich, and his wife Ethel. She is such a mysterious person. Her gadfly story, which I need to look more into, there's way more to that. But guess what I discovered on the devil card? The New Orleans Cthulhu devil card. Turns out, this is the Thoth deck. This is unique to the Thoth deck, this discovery. When you flip it upside down, a most fascinating image is revealed. And this is card number 15.
It's a dick and balls, bro.
That's what everybody sees. They can't see past it. There's something else going on here. This is the gadfly. The gadfly is a broad term used for almost any stinging bug or insect. This is a mosquito. This has a Spinoza. This has a thorn nose. This has the elongated bloodsucker propensity. And if you look at, so this is also your 15 man nut cities. See the men in the nuts? This is your 15 man nut cities.
We just call that college.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy.
Oh.
So the thing that is really fascinated, so for me, this is number 6 on the Enneagram is a loyalist with a shadow of fear. And if you are going to move into those 15-minute cities, you are going to be very responsive to the psychological operations that are directed at the number 6 personality type.
Can I throw something else out here too? I just learned this the other night on Zertis's show Think Tank, but that this creature that looks like the 2-horned creature here,
yep,
that also might be a mythical creature called the Yale. That's the name of the creature.
Oh
is Yale.
my god.
Get the fuck out of town.
That was something brand new that I had never even heard before. And someone brought up, like, everyone always talks about Yale. Do you know what a Yale is? If you just look up a Yale, it is a mythical creature that has these 2 huge long horns.
It really is. Hold on. Shut up.
That's why.
Look at
That's why
this,
they're
dude.
the home of the
Bruh.
Templars, dude. And
A mythical
underneath
goat like
Yale
beast, yeah.
College has many tunnels, bro.
Bruh.
Wow.
What?
God,
Bro, what are you talking
damn.
about, man?
15th century, same time period as the Voynich Manuscript.
15. There's that 15, man. 15,
Daniel.
All right.
$15 million that sold out the Louisiana Purchase. Man, what a trip, Thomas.
they
Thank you
talk
for that.
about
Now
it.
when you see this card, know that you might be looking at a Yale.
Right. So it also oh my gosh, I'm tripping, bro. That is a trip and a half.
Wow, that's a crazy weave. That was like
Yes.
straight
Tell me
from
that's
the
not a
sack.
Yale. Knowing what it looks like now, the mythical version, that's a freaking Yale.
Right.
And what is this on his head? Are these blueberries?
That's a wreath. It's a Dionysian wreath. It is it's actually Corona Borealis. Is another possibility, but yeah, man. Oh, I'm tripping, Thomas.
Whoa.
So the mosquito aspect brings up yellow fever, which turns your eyes yellow, and that is why these balls are yellow. Any disease
It's blue
like
balls,
yellow,
bro.
it's yellow blue balls, because it shuts down your kidneys. That's why that's an indication of kidney failure. The
Those are
yellow eye.
homunculi, but by definition, those are all homunculi.
Bro, I
buddy.
didn't say it. You said it. But just
Yeah,
know that I'm a
buddy.
Pentecostal. I was a born Pentecostal Christian, and
You're what?
when I was growing up, I used to go to church a lot. Pentecostal Christian.
So yeah, man, this devil card is on the Cthulhu location, Ground Zero, New Orleans, and the gadfly is encoded in the card, which is the name of the book that Elith, what's her name? The wife of Voynich.
I don't know.
Yeah, I
What?
fucking forget her name all the time. That's the name of her book is Gadfly. So this is the Mosca constellation. There's only one fly constellation, and it's buzzing around the Coptic cross of Crus, the Crus minor decan of Virgo, no, of Libra. And what is really fascinating about this gadfly is that she's connected in a million ways. Okay, I got this. I can land this. She's connected in a million ways. Turns out they end up naming a small planet, like a mini planet, a miniature planet.
Yes.
They named a mini planet after her. It's not a dwarf planet. You won't find it if you look that up. So she has an entire planet named after her. So she's totally connected to have a planet with her name on it. Her whole name, Elith Voynich, is the name of this planet. Well, guess what? Pluto has a location on the planet that is named Cthulhu.
Mm-hmm.
So these people are literally seeding their mantles. They're putting their mantles.
Athel is her name. Athel Lillian.
Ethel.
Lillian Voynich, right? Lillian, of course.
Thank you. Yes. So when they put their name on a planet or a body that is so far out with this circuitous path, that is generating a circle. And to generate the circle, that is to be a member of the Kirche, to know the cipher of the circles. Yeah, you got it. And it's number 2032. That's a significant number. You better believe. Right, 322 all mixed up in there.
Holy shit! Yeah, dude, that's
So
wild. That goes on along with what we we're just saying about Yale, like a motherfucker.
well, and that's the thing. This is a pattern. We have Jack Whiteside Parsons has a crater named after him on the dark side of the moon. Right, it's very paradoxical. You have the mountain range on Pluto that was presented to H.P. Lovecraft through visions 4 or 5 years before Pluto was an actual thing. And I also heard somebody, right? I was listening, I think he was an occultist, where Pluto signifies the boundaries of our reality, the furthest that we can possibly comprehend. Now, again, I know some people think, and I'm using the new term imaginary and homosexual. I'm not going to be using fake and gay anymore. I'm going to be using imaginary and homosexual. Some people believe that space is imaginary and homosexual, and this idea, right? But let's step outside the box for a little bit. Step outside of that reality tunnel for a little bit, and just say that there is this rock on the outer skirts of our solar system, right? If you want to believe that cosmology. But yeah, he was putting it very, very weirdly where, because again, I'm getting into the tunnels of Set and all that stuff. And right, Pluto signifies that, right? The very end of our existence and our reality in some way. And then you have Pluto with Disney, you have Pluto with Cthulhu, right? And then Cthulhu equals 33 as well. So Cthulhu equals 33. Again,
just outside Pluto too, it was they found another planet that had a moon, and that planet was named after Xena, the warrior princess. It's a planet called Xena, and its moon was named Gabrielle, which was another fictional character from Xena, the warrior princess. So there's definitely all sorts of like Hollywood completely infiltrates every aspect of reality, even to the point of naming craters and moons and planets.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's
NASA connected straight up to the Jack Parsons ritual. If you're naming planets and being part of that organization,
in a talismanic way,
exactly.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. It's used as an augmentation, right? And not only that, but I think that these people live in existence as long as their names are embedded in these statues or these whatever it is, and. Gabe, real quick, is there anything in the back? What's going on in the background here? Is there anything is that like a bird or something back here? What
Those
is
are the
this?
wings of the mosquito.
Oh, good.
Clock,
yeah.
Nice. I like that. It's also like connective tissue, like, because the mosquito is injecting or putting his little whatever is poison in you. So it's also the connective tissue inside of the human body. Now this is an interesting connection here. There is an artist named Francis Bacon.
Yes.
And he claims to be related to He claims to be related to Sir Francis Bacon. Now, Francis Bacon was a expressionist painter, and he had a series of paintings that were said to be based on the bunker of Hitler, on Hitler's bunker. And if you look at this series of paintings, it turns out it is a one-to-one correspondence to this image here of this devil card. And I'm inclined to believe that it was actually Francis Bacon's art that I want to say he painted that card, because it is absolutely crystal clear to me. It's beyond a shadow of a doubt that either he painted the card or Lady Frieda Harris, who made the card, was emulating him quite intentionally. And that's just really fascinating to me because of that Francis Bacon looks like, sounds like, is like, relates to correspondence. Having a thread back to Hitler, and Hitler being people say racist, but he was
he was an occultist, and he also loved bombs. And they were making hella alchemical shit in their labs, bro. Like, fucked up.
Right. Just tied to Roger Bacon. Wouldn't that be?
Which ties to Roger Bacon. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yes.
There's the Bacon. There's the Baconian cipher in the periodic table as well. Remember when we were working on that a while back?
Oh, yeah.
Was a huge proponent in pushing the new shape, just like the modern English, but the new structure. Like at that point, there, it spells out Bacon perfectly.
It totally does. Like one half of it is like one half is Kevin and the other corner is Bacon? Francis. No, it's Francis. One half says Bacon and one half says Francis. And one is a pole and one is a hole on the two corners of the periodic table. Yeah, man.
Pentecostal Christian for
who was Pentecostal?
I was Pentecostal when I was growing up, when I was a little boy, when I was a chiquito, a little boy.
How come you never brought that up before? You should get into that.
I mean, yeah, it's like part of my history. I don't really talk about it that much on the show, so like I just want to make sure that people know that. I was a Pentecostal when I was growing up.
Like the
and-
snakes, right? You handled snakes.
No, I didn't. No, that wasn't the type of Pentecostalism that I was doing, bro. It was
Oh,
like
that's not
more
real
like-
Pentecostal. I don't know who told you were Pentecostal, but
So-
if you didn't,
Oh,
if you
so
don't dance
Juan-
with snakes, you're not Pentecostal. If you don't wear magic underpants, you're not Mormon. Those are the rules.
okay. All right. I'm just making sure. Thank you,
Juan
so
and-
serious.
Juan and Rewan were in a Pentecostal church. Juan fell out. Who was left?
Juan on Juan, bro. So Romie was gonna pull something up here. Let's see here.
They
And
zapped him.
They zapped him, yeah, bro. He got zapped like a mosquito, dude.
It's the,
Mosquito.
it's the Ethica. They got him.
So yeah, I wanted to pull up the picture of this Francis Bacon, but they're kind of graphic, and I mean, I don't really feel like pulling this up. But we've talked about it before, to where it's the purple, right? We have the Hans purple and the gold.
Right.
Romie, what were you gonna pull up, bro? Before you dipped out?
Oh man, sorry about that. I exited my own shit. I was just pulling up the periodic table and just want to show you guys how clearly it just be spelling out Francis Bacon like right here in the corner. I thought that was cool.
Right.
What?
You got the
Yeah,
B,
like
that's some Shakespearean shit right there. You got the
Oh.
BACON, Francis. Boom.
and then look at the bottom left corner. That this is the cornerstone of the temple, right? The linchpin FR at the very bottom, and it's Franconium, and its periodic weight. If it had the other numbers, the
88 is raw. That's pretty tight.
right next to Ra. Well, you get FRA, Fra, and then C above and BA above that. So you get Frakaba, Frakaba. But then the periodic the periodic weight of Franconium is like basically 223. It's like 322 in reverse.
There's your 322 right there. What's the V?
Dude, do you guys have
23.
cookies there, Romie?
I think that's Vidium or something.
Video.
You guys have cookies there, bro? The Puerto Rican frog
Oh,
in Hawaii?
Koki frogs? Yeah, Koki frogs.
Yeah,
The story is that the Koki frogs were brought in on a freight hauler from Walmart.
I hear it. I can hear them. Yeah.
I love the Kokis.
So,
cool.
hold on, give me 1 second here.
Can you smoke them?
No, you can't smoke them, but they have the distinct sound. I mean, you can hear it in the
It's-
background.
It's
Literally-
binaural too because they have such dissonance because they're all at different distances and they're all at different lengths. So if you sit out there for long enough and just start to vibe out and meditate at night, it's such an ambient noise, like crickets, right? But they're frogs.
Like cicadas too.
And exactly, but animals give off that binaural tone that'll put you in a trance real quick too, which is really interesting. The flapping of the moth or the butterfly wings and snapping into a portal. It's just enlightening that third rod, that central pillar, baby. But yeah, frogs are cool.
Yeah, frogs are dope. So, to wrap it up, how do you wanna tie the bow on this to send the people
Let's
home
see
with
where
this
we're at on
homunculus?
Kickstarter. Are we at
All right,
33?
all right, hold on.
This, we're
Yeah, I
not
wanna
ending
say
until we get to
too-
33.
I want to say
Yeah, we're
before
not
we
leaving-
go, if you
29.
guys haven't seen,
Oof, no one's
29,
allowed to
check that
leave the
shit out.
chat. No one's even allowed to leave the stream. Nothing. No
Nope.
one's going anywhere.
All right.
we're up all night.
I shot the link, guys. I mean, I don't make the rules. This is just how the Matrix works. You gotta sign up for the Kickstarter before we get out of here, or else I guess Thomas is holding the stream, accountable and not gonna let us go.
That's not the
until
stream.
we-
What you're doing is you're basically meddling with the very forces of nature, Mr. Beal. At this kind of you've basically entered a pact by coming onto this free 3-hour stream and getting all this esoteric knowledge. We broke down the Voynich manuscripts, so the very least you can do is
We're
go to
at 30. Here we
Kickstarter
go,
and
boys.
sign up.
Let's
We're at 3 more. We could go. We're not allowed to go to
Three
sleep
more.
until we get 3 more. So.
Yeah, we're not allowed to. My wife's gonna be very mad at me if I don't come to bed tonight. I mean, who doesn't want to see the Chosen One issue 2, Secret Society of the Podfather? I mean, let's see. We need 3 more. Come on.
Romie, go get the biggest mango you can find. Let's show these kids how to do this.
I'll be back.
Let's show them how it's done. Let's show them how it's done.
Hold on. I'll be back.
So, I just recently looked into some of the naysayers about the Cathars. You know, the Cathar goes generally unquestioned. Recently, somebody has made quite a few little videos on what if the Cathars were a psyop in and of their own right. It's a fascinating dynamic. It's like the Cathar story was retrofitted because of what the Inquisition was able to glean from the people they were torturing. And so it's like they tortured so many people into confessing that all of the confessions got put together into a story, and that story became the myth of the Cathars.
We're so close.
And I find that very fascinating because the Cathars are said to be the roots of Gnosticism. And so when people look into Gnosticism, it's almost like there's this diversion story channel, this fabricated stream of research that's going to lead people to, you know, basically a fabricated dead end. But if you look down that stream, there are caretakers along the way. There are shepherds and stewards and people who are going to make sure you stay on that one path. But I'm more and more inclined to think that Spinoza is the real Gnostic path that only the initiates have access to. And I just want everybody to be very careful before you go affiliating yourself with pantheists. Be sure you read all the terms of the agreement and you know what all the words actually mean, and you have full mastery over the Spinozian Black's Law dictionary of this breakaway civilization.
Also, panic comes from, right? You have
Pandemonium. Oh,
and so again, that connection, and the deed is done, Sir Thomas. We're at 35 followers.
Well, actually, we needed to hit 33, and the fact that we went over, now we're going to have to hang around until we get to the next magical number.
40. 44.
Which is
40.
What's the next magical number, bro?
42
I think
or
we would be
44.
93 if you wanted to get really esoteric.
93. Okay, we'll be here for a while. We're gonna go to 93, but
Yo,
35
I wanted to
is-
say, Juan, bro, have you seen Renfield yet?
I have not.
Your
Good
boy
sir.
Nick Cage is
Listen,
Dracula in the
bro.
fucking theaters, and you haven't gone?
Romie,
I walked
don't
in
ever
for free the other night.
disrespect
They weren't
me
even checking tickets.
on
bro. That
my
movie was
stream,
tight as
brother.
fuck.
Listen,
yo, I
listen.
just, you gotta go. You gotta
You
go.
gotta go. It's so good. They
Why
throw
don't
in
we
the-
do this? Hold on. Why don't we do this? Hold on. I have access to. Let's see, because the reason I haven't watched it is because it's
Let's
not on the
watch it live.
It's
Here
not-
we go.
Well, here's the thing. I have access to oh, it's on here. Okay, so what we can do is, I'm not gonna be here. We can do it for next week, but there's a streaming platform that we can use that's not gonna get pinged for copyright, and we can all watch it together as one big happy family. We can have a watch party.
Let's
I'll set
fucking
that
do
up.
this.
Sign it. It's
And
already on the calendar, bro.
it's already in the so whoever wants to join us can join us. The deed
Yeah,
has
bro.
been done. 35 people. 36. Look at that. 36
We got
people. signed up.
Shaka.
So
Back
Real
to the
quick.
36 chambers.
I got one little hanging chad that Thomas, I'm so glad you said something, Thomas, about the pandemic. Turns out there is a term in
tread
his,
lightly, sir.
yeah, bro. Yeah, bro.
Whoa.
Yeah. There is a term in his glossary that came up in his day, Spinoza's lifetime, kind of birthed out of some of his works. And it's probably a borrowed term. It probably has other proliferations, but it does have a touch point to this pantheist, right? And the word is eudaimonia, eudaimonia. It means human flourishing, a contented state of being happy and healthy and prosperous. And there's a lot going on there, but I just want to say that while this breakaway civilization Spinozist is proliferating his own works, seeding the consciousness to generate a Gnostic movement of essentially like renegades. People are like, no, I'm not down with this system. What else is there? And then they, just like the Gnostic movement, oh, there's this other option. Well, they're going to end up in this eudaimonia back in the 1600s, like 1650s. Well, sure enough, it was only a matter of a few years later that they put out the Paradise Lost in 1667 was when that was launched onto the collective consciousness. And in Paradise Lost was Pandemonium, which is the house of all demons. And what I see here is propaganda warfare, where the Spinozists have eudaimonia, which is like all happy-go-lucky paradise, as their highest ideal. And then the London fires break out. Sabbatai Zeddy movement pops off. Fucking Hillary Clinton is in the screen right now. And then we have the initiation of prize law, where everybody's birth certificates are lost at sea because of the London fires. And so this very fascinating parallel between the Pandemonium, the house of all demons in Paradise Lost, and eudaimonia of the Spinozist atheist movement seems to have very common roots. And there's probably more to that later that I can elucidate on. But it is quite fascinating to me that the whole world just bowed down to something with a very similar name.
Oof. Yikes. So yeah, we'll save that one for next time. This is great. This is really fun. I mean, time flies by when you're having fun and when you're surrounded by a good group of people. We're at 37 followers on it. Also, I have 99 patrons. The next patron that signs up, I'll send them a care package, comic book. So I'll send them something. So patreon.com.
Oh, you heard it here. You heard it here. Next Patreon sub, get something sick.
Next Patreon sub, get something sick. The 100th patron.
You got to do the 101 too, because the 101 Highway 101 in Cali is the shit, son. Right up there to the motherfucking Bohemian Grove. You already know Santa Rosa be the spot, be the place. Highway 101.
Yeah, I already know, baby. Yeah, I like your suit, bro. Your little thing there. So, yo, can you hit the frog for us one time before we get out of here, bro?
Yo, let me get a beat. Let me get a ribbit. Let me get the heat.
Hey.
Let me get the what? Let me get the beat. Let me get the 2. Let me get the 3. Let me get the what?
Hey. So, you guys want to plug anything before we get the F out of here?
Yo, I always want to plug my MK Ultra Paranoid pamphlet, which is the first.
Oh, you want to give them a preview of the
series
of the homunculus pamphlet?
Why don't you just pop open the Instagram or Twitter or something? Because
get a little screen
if you haven't
share
seen
on
it already, you should be following on Twitter and Instagram, and you can see. This is the first one. You can see this one at mkultracomic.com, and it's a full breakdown of the entire history of MK Ultra from Bluebird all the way to modern day. It's got RFK assassination, JFK assassination. It's got Castro assassination plots in there. There's a Frank Olson. There's a story about the CIA feeding this guy Harold Blauer about like 60 times a regular dose of MDMA, killed him. He went in for depression after a divorce. It's got names, dates, people, places, times, things, all facts. You can show it to your grandma and tell her that she's been wrong about everything. Here's a CIA operation where they actually investigated witchcraft.
Don't do that. That's
example.
That's fucked up, dude. Don't do that. Let her have it, dude. She's only around for so long. Let her have it.
She needs to know about MK Ultra. She needs to know about homunculus. And the second pamphlet that's coming out is going to be all about the history of the homunculus. So you got some previews you want to show on?
Yeah, we got a winner. We got Ra, and then we had a Robert Anastasi, I think, sign up as well. So I'm at 101, but
there it is.
Robert's in Canada. I was gonna show Robert some love, but I don't know about. Can I ship to Canada? I don't know. Can you ship to Canada, Paranoid American?
Now we got to get to 111.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'll Robert. I'm gonna send you some stickers too, bro.
I would ship things to Canada, but I don't actually think Canada is real. I think it's a projection of a hologram.
No.
Canada
That's the wrong podcast, bro. Wrong podcast. We can't talk about that one right now. Okay. But yeah, shout out to Ra. I'm gonna send me your address on Patreon, and I'll send you the stuff, bro. I'm a man of my word. I'm a homunculus of my word. But let me pull this up real quick. Hold on. So, what do you want me to do?
Oh, just pop open the Instagram and just show some of the previews that we've been posting on the homunculus pamphlet.
We only posted 2, I think, though, bro.
I got to be a little bit stingy. Well, actually, no. On Patreon, let me see if I.
You want me
pull
to
up
show them the one on
Patreon.
Patreon? I mean, why not, right? They've been here
Yeah,
with
let's
us.
do it. Let's show the
It's
Patreon.
late.
Show my Patreon with all 3 patrons, which I think one of those is you, Juan. But yeah, see, let's show people what they're missing by not being part of the Paranoid American Patreon, where they could have been getting these deep sort of insights in the homunculus pamphlet way ahead
Damn
of
it.
time.
Shout out to Catherine. She signed up too for the Patreon. For the anyone who's on here, send me a message. I'll get you some stickers. But Raw gets the care package because he was first.
Nice.
I want to be like, but I'll show you guys some love. Let me pull this up here. Let's see, patron.
Do you
We
need some help here?
Yeah, Paranoid American. Here we go. So, all right. Boom, baby. All right, so this is from the homunculus pamphlet preview, exclusive, gushy goodness up in here.
On the Paranoid American Patreon.
Don't mind that. Patreon.com/Paranoid American. Don't worry about that. But yeah, we have here.
Dick.
These are just some panels. We're hard at work right now, working on it. So again, you have to destroy the homunculus in order to extract its magical essence.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that
then-
was the one describing how you have to. One of the very important aspects, and this isn't a joke. I mean that it's comic book and it's illustrated, but it's not a joke.
Yo,
One
look
of the
into my
things
eyes,
that
bro.
you have to understand when you're going to create a homunculus is that they do not have a soul. No matter how they act, they don't actually have a soul. Let's apply this to AI too, but we'll step back from that.
Yeah,
So
buddy.
if you know that it doesn't have a soul, you also have to be prepared at any moment to destroy it. You need to be able to terminate that homunculus, no matter what kind of logic it tries to plead with. You have to be able, at a moment's notice, just smash it and take its blood and use it for magical powers.
Yes, it's part of the lure. And again, you can have your homunculus do anything for you. You can have it file your taxes. You can have it mow your lawn. You can have it, whatever, clean your gutters. You name it, he'll do it. And then you put its bodily fluids on your feet, and you can walk on water, etc., right? All of it. You can
Flubber.
fly.
That's correct.
You can
Yeah,
fly. You can again. This is the Paracelsian.
This is a preview of the homunculus kit, but we're not allowed to sell the kit yet, the physical kit. So right now we're gonna have to probably
It's
just
because
sell
of the
booklet.
Pentecostal Christians that are in Florida.
Pentecostal Christians. There's also venomous snake laws. I don't want to get into all the specifics, but because of venomous snake laws in Florida, we're not allowed to sell the actual homunculus kits. Once we figure out a loophole around that, we'll start shipping those as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we have to figure out the logistics of it, but it's all good in the hood. And then here you have the little homunculus in the sperm, as was thought by the.
There's that Devil Tarot card, bro. That's exactly what it looked like.
Aristotelian
So true.
ideas.
There's even 2 balls
Just no cane, right?
right under the
Balls, no
cane.
So this was fun.
Yeah, good
And-
times.
We're gonna have to do it again. Had a good turnout.
Big time.
I want everybody to stay safe and
Slick
You gotta-
Dissident on YouTube.
yeah, plug your stuff.
I get down on the Interverse podcast with Chance Garton on the Rockfin. You catch me over on Rising from the Ashes too. We got quite a few things in the fires, and everybody get your Occultist Monday. Don't miss out. Good stuff. Eventually,
Cultus Monday, Ko-Fi, Ko-Fi.com/TJOJP.
oh, and Weaving
and-
Spiders. Can't forget my spiders, y'all.
Absolutely.
Over on the Weaving Spiders webs.
Thank you for all the ones that signed up for we had a Bella as well sign up. Well, a Bella window cleaning. Shout out to you. Appreciate you.
Yeah,
And yeah,
big
guys,
up.
you got to make sure it's very dangerous when you're getting into this kind of territory. And you got to make sure that when you get too close to the truth, they come a knocking sometimes. So